YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this F-86 Sabre. I love the looks of this plane. Super powerful 4S setup, 860 millimeters, flaps, 64 millimeter EDF, removable drop tanks, removable fixed gear, and we've got wind coming from this direction, so we're gonna take off from down there. Stay tuned. Okay, so we've got the Gens Ace 4000 milliamp 2200 45C pack. It's got an XT60 to Dean's adapter. And so what that's gonna do for us is adapt up to the XT60 inside. So throttle cuts off. I believe we have the auto leveling off on the Vector. This comes equipped with Vector. And here goes nothing. Takeoff flaps deployed. Oh yeah. Oh, I tried to turn the gear closed. Okay, out of auto leveling. I was out of auto leveling. Oh man, that thing is speedy. Oh, it looks good. I'm obviously out of my takeoff flaps, flying with just a little bit of wind today. You can see it crabbing along the runway. Decent roll rate. That is full stick input, and I'm in my middle expo and rates mode, which means I have 100% rates. Man, that thing looks sweet. I don't know if you guys noticed over here, I'm gonna fly down. Look at the giant burn going on over there. They got a big controlled burn going on over here, right where I'm gonna go down by. Cool. Folks, this thing is pretty awesome. It's got just the right amount of power to keep it exciting, but not so much that it's insane. Nice high-speed passes. Almost unlimited vertical. She would stall out at the very, very, very top of a turn like that. Going into the wind now, that's weird. Felt like the nose gear was a little bit out of alignment for the rudder. You guys hear the beep? A little bit of rudder to roll it. Takeoff flaps. Oh yeah, we got our elevator to mix really nicely there. Look at that slow flight performance. That's takeoff flaps, folks. Okay, out of the takeoff flaps into the power heavy. Okay, going down the road the other way, full landing flaps here. We got the barn doors deployed. Looks like almost pointing a little bit nose down. Okay, we might have a little bit too much going up and over. Won't see a stall turn too many times with this type of plane. Full landing flaps. Let's just see how it looks for a final. Just gliding it in. Oh yeah, out of the into the takeoff flaps, right over the flag. Okay, full throttle. Folks, this thing flies like a daydream. Very solid flight performance. The rudder will roll the plane. You guys hear we're beeping? We have 30 seconds left on our flight timer of 3 minutes. That's a 3.6 volt warning, which means we could have one pack sagging or all four. Beauty of a 4S in this type of 64 millimeter configuration is that you're gonna get a pretty good warning. Twin 64, not so much. That's our timer. We're gonna cheat, get some altitude just in case she loses power. We'll fly upside down. Okay, here we go. Takeoff flaps deployed. Just gonna relax into it. Camera crew about 10 steps back toward the garage door. There you go, good job. Okay, full landing flaps. We're gonna try to lose some altitude here. Into the throttle light. Don't like it. Getting real aggressive on our turnaround. I can feel we're losing the juice. Okay, here we go. Out of the throttle, just gonna glide it around. Takeoff flaps coming in now. Backed off the throttle. We should be able to reserve enough to get down to the ground. Nice and stable. Full landing flaps coming in now. Hopefully get in the ground effect and we'll have a good touchdown. And we did, awesome. Boy, she rolls like forever.
Wow.
Stop, stop, stop. There you go. That's pretty awesome flight performance, though. You do not get a very long flight out of it, but that's 3 minutes 52 right now. And I gotta say, I felt like it was juicy the whole time, so let's go ahead and back taxi. We'll put it back into the takeoff flaps because I feel like the barn doors look inappropriate on this thing. And then look how much I'm kind of having to move the, whoa! See what I'm talking about? I gotta try to get that nose gear lined up a little bit better. because I felt like it flew straight, but then look at that. Got a pretty big disparity on the tracking on the ground. So that's one of the only things. And I noticed that even when we were tracking it around in the living room. Also, you guys notice the tip, how it's black? I've seen a lot more F-86 Sabres with an entirely black opening on the inlet there. And so I'm a little bit tempted to go ahead and do just black paint all the way around the nose, because I love the way this plane looks. And then black all the way through, like take black spray paint and just spray inside of the opening. Oh, that'd be so cool, because then the tailpipe would be black. The EDF sounds amazing. I mean, it's for a 64, it sounds excellent. Out of the flaps now. Okay, so let's come back here in the shade. Hopefully our exposure will correct. As you can see, very good visibility. Silver planes sometimes like to disappear in blue skies like this. I didn't feel like it was disappearing at all. And you'll note that it's not beeping anymore. Now, you'll see this in the Unbox build radio setup. I don't know how much power we have left, so this may not be a great representation, but throttle cuts off. I'm just guiding it. Good power, guys, good power. 64, almost 1-to-1 power to weight ratio, maybe a little bit below. Okay, and it looks like 3.7, 14.9 total, 3.74, 3.73, 3.78, 3.72, and then 14.9. So really, you technically could go longer. We're gonna put it on the XBC battery checker here. And this, of course, is going to give us a lot more accurate results. This is the battery. It's very tall compared to the Smart Pack. That's a 50C. But our Smart Pack goes back a little bit further. So just giving you guys a juxtapose them. And for comparison, if you decide to buy a Smart Pack, you can buy that when you're buying your plane if you want. They're calling that 20% left. Okay. Did you get it? Is it all focused? So basically, my take is good flight performance. Definitely felt like we had plenty of flare authority. To be honest with you, you could probably go a little bit more nose heavy, meaning you could put a bigger battery in there as long as it's all the way forward to this bulkhead. I do like that it has to go all the way to the bulkhead, makes it real easy to load. We just did our regular shelf liner trick on here, and then AR 620. So we'll show you exactly how to set that up in the build series. Now, and when I say build series, the Unbox build radio setup's coming next. So, well, there might be one more flight here. I'm gonna clear the timer. I feel like we're safe to do 2 adjustments. I'm gonna change my timer to 3 minutes and 30, because like we got 350 and it was good. And we had 20% down. Okay. 20% left on that pack according to the XBC, which I usually trust that. And then what I wanna do is I wanna switch one servo. I forgot to switch. Was for gear. So that should put our auto leveling here, because I take off with it here. And my propensity on a jet is to put the flaps up or put the gear up. So I may accidentally turn the auto leveling on after I climb out. So if you guys see that, you'll know what's going on. Throttle cuts back on. Let's go ahead and switch batteries. I'm just gonna show you the process of switching batteries. Okay, so this is the alternative choice that we're gonna throw on this one. Of course, this is a 50C. Keep in mind, this plane calls for 35C, but I just about guarantee you do it on a 30C Smart Pack. And remember, when you buy the Gens Ace, you're getting a very good value for the money, but keep in mind, you're probably gonna have this battery longer than the Gens Ace, okay? So just so you guys know the way that the trade-off is this. If you get a Gens Ace, you're gonna have to fly it and then leave it discharged until you're ready to use it and then charge it. If you get a Smart Pack, you can fly it and then you can just charge it up and let it discharge itself after your automatic discharge rate. The other thing too that you're gonna get in terms of advantages for the extra almost double to triple the cost, and that's legit. Like this is gonna cost you a lot more than this pack, okay? A lot more. But the thing is, you'll probably get more life cycles out of it, in my opinion. There are certain packs that go into certain EDFs that you will chew up and spit out no matter what battery you put in there. So if this was a twin EDF like the F-15, I might recommend you get whatever battery you can put in it, because you're gonna destroy it anyway. And this is the adapter. We'll link to that. If you don't already have a Dean's to XT60, they're very easy to make too. So we'll just kind of set this on the threshold here. Pack looks perfect. Full disclosure, brand new pack. Obviously it's gonna look good, but if you get the wrong size pack in a plane, you can puff it on flight number 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and load this in here. You can see this one here. It's got a little bit of round, not much. So it's a 50C 4S. Now you can also get a 100C in this class, but that just gets to be in crazy expensive stuff. And you'll note that it's just a little bit shorter. I mean, it's like marginally shorter. And what's the difference between a 50C and a 100C? I don't know, probably this is 12 gauge on here. On a 100C it'd be like a 10 gauge wire. And then everything else, they use a little bit thicker shielding between the packs to help hold that shape. Okay, so now we can go ahead and plug this one in. Obviously this is a Gen 2, so we do not get a voltage alarm. But you'll note that the IC3, even though it's kind of a bear cat to get it plugged in, they will go. Okay, so it's in. Gonna let everything initiate. Okay, and then what I've been doing is I take the leads and just kind of tuck them like this. Because then in the canopy, if you look inside the canopy, it's hollowed out. So you got lots of room, but if you're on the edge, there's a tighter lip, okay? So you can't just run it necessarily down here. So just be aware of that. Felt like the magnets did a great job. We might taxi out with this one. Well, actually I wanna give good apples to apples, so we'll set it out in the runway and the wind is picking up. Show them the wind. I'm gonna have to take off the completely opposite direction now. That's how fast stuff changes, and you can tell from the smoke. The smoke got blown the same direction, but then there's a big clob of it up there.
This way, and now it's, yeah, that's crazy.
So I'll set up and we'll start again. All right, folks, throttle cuts off, takeoff flaps deployed. I wanted to see how that would work. Now, full disclosure, you throw a little bit of rudder in there, you can roll this thing a lot faster. You can see all the people flying over, going to their springtime destinations that aren't Iowa, which is okay with me. Okay, coming over and then down. Guys, this plane flies rock solid, folks. I mean, it's just really good. Up and over, ego killing zone and through the trees. Good? Full speed. Love it. Do you hear that noise?
Yep.
That's the noise our cats make to draw in the aerial rats to eat, also known as birds. Okay, coming down the runway. You good? Okay, let's try touch and go. Flaps coming out. It's just like got real calm all of a sudden. I feel like we're in absent the wind right now, which is really good. Okay, full landing flaps coming. Ooh, a little grass hops for you. Folks, I did not mean to hit the grass. I just didn't have enough time to get it over. The wind pushed me, it's coming right at our face now. Actually, it's turned around and it's going, what the heck is with this wind? Oh, that was cool. I'm crosswind now. And not giving huge stick inputs here. This thing it's doing just a really good job of flying, I gotta say. Contrary rudder input there to keep it going really straight. But as you can see, the thing is rock solid. This would be a great first or second EDF. The thing is solid with that reflex in there. There's really nothing to worry about. Let's show you some auto leveling. Okay, auto leveling is on. There's your limited bank angle. Look at that, guys. That is pretty good auto leveling. Okay, so let's show you a clip where I gotta make a turn, but then just hands off. When you let go, it just returns. There's your down, there's your up. That's a pretty good amount of up. Okay, out of the reflex auto leveling, through the trees and down. Man, that looks sweet. over the eagle killing zone. So folks, just love the way this plane flies. Real easy to fly. Reminds me of flying the Marlin, but I like the looks of this a lot more than the Marlin. And the thing is, I feel like this plane is easier to transport. Okay, so that's our timer. Okay, let's try a different landing approach here. We're gonna come up over the top of the top power line, takeoff flaps deployed. You'll note the wind has changed directions totally. Okay, full landing flaps now. We should be over. Whoa, whoa, that was terrible. Sorry, folks. I don't know if I lost wind or I just made a really terrible, terrible play there. About 10% throttle, almost none. Full landing flaps coming in. We're gonna do the approach the right way. Woo-hoo-hoo! Woo-hoo-hoo! Okay, out of the flaps altogether. Felt like that was a pretty good approach if I would have just put it on the ground instead of like freaking out. Okay, takeoff flaps this time. Gotta let it slow down a little bit more. About 15% throttle. 20, 30, little burst. Into the flare, and there it is. Let's see if we broke the landing gear. It does not like tipping over like the F-16. Yeah, buddy, grass ops. All right, let's try grass ops landing with gear. I know you guys want it. It's really hard on your plane when they're small like this. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, right around the lines. It's gonna slow down a lot quicker. Okay, so grass ops seem fine. Throttle cuts on. I'm not gonna sacrifice the life of the plane just to taxi it a bunch. But you guys, this is not super smooth here, just for the record. We are desperately trying to smooth it out over time, but it just takes time for the grass to kind of fill in all these gaps. But man, this plane is awesome. I mean, what a sweet plane. Yes, I did bend that one gear, but that was a rough landing. Yeah. Holy cow. Check this out. Let's just pop this out. Whoops. Camera crew, can you hold that? Mm-hmm. You know what? Let's straighten it right now. Can you pause?
You can pause.
You can pause. Okay, so one other thing I was thinking about, I didn't say it while I was flying, is I said those drop tanks could be like your lifesaver, because look at that. That's just gonna keep you off the ground just a little bit. Now, yeah. I think they release going forward, don't they?
I don't remember.
Yeah, they release going forward, so they're gonna get pushed on tighter. So let's go ahead and resolve this right now. If you guys have never had to do this, it's super easy process. Just a couple of ordinary crescent wrenches. If you don't have a crescent wrench, you could probably use a little something different, but I'm just gonna hang on to this at the L, so you get both sides of the surface, and then just twist it a little bit. Boom, bam, done. That was way easier than I thought it was gonna be too. It's a little bit on the soft side, I would say, but the thing is, if you guys are trying to fix a plane, we know like this particular echelon of plane, this is a weird middle ground because it's such a sweet, awesome lines and good high performance plane that I think you're gonna get a lot of experienced pilots flying them, but then you're gonna get some inexperienced pilots flying them too. And let's XBC this up and see if we can do any more flight time. We did a full flight time plus about 30 seconds. Then we did probably another 30-second sorties just for that takeoff and landing, which off grass is hard on your batteries, just so you know. Because you
have it in your pockets.
Oh, which one? This one.
Sure.
Okay, here's the XBC. So this is a Smart Gen 2, so there's no balance lead. 20%, so we got like apples for apples comparison. That never happens. So guys, awesome plane. 20% is a great stopping point for this. And I just think, honestly, we've done so many different Aeros planes now that, I mean, they've all been really good. I mean, it's crazy because I feel like what they've done with Aeros is that they have just taken all the bad ones and just like let them disappear into the sunset. And so we're just left with all the good ones, which I know for some of you, you probably think, well, Horizon does that all the time. It's like, you know, there's probably a reason they do that because people don't buy the stuff. But what I'm trying to say is this plane This plane is good. It flies good. It performs well. I did notice, and I didn't mention this in the unbox, but I'm still kind of noticing it. I just didn't know if it was me, but there was a little bit of a squish in the wing. I mean, not like huge, and then I did that. You'll see in the unbox. And I also noticed that by grabbing the inboard portion of the wings, this is not uncommon on silver. You're gonna get some dimpling, and I hate that. This is a solid wing, so it's not a huge issue, but just seems like with silver planes, it's gonna exacerbate any sort of hanger rash that you get on planes. And so this is what I was talking about on the ground, and I probably should have just picked it up to articulate it. I want this whole thing painted because it looks like a Hitler stash. So I'm gonna probably paint that black because I've seen way more F-86 with this, and I'm sure the Jolly Rogers just had the tip painted because this is modeled after the Jolly Rogers. But then I want to take and just run this EDF at like a low amount, and then just like spritz some silver paint here, and then I want to like shut off the EDF and then spritz some black paint in here because I think it'll look sweet. But I really like this EDF jet. It's definitely a good beginner plane. It's definitely not hard to fly. It lands, it does take a long time to roll out. There's a lot of different things you can do to correct that. Namely, flare more on landing, so that what that's gonna do for you is it's gonna eat up more of your airspeed before you touch down. 2, you can land on a grass strip, it'll slow you down like in no time. But the thing is, I like flying off of a hard surface if I can, which, I mean, that's kind of obvious. I think most people would. But the thing is, I feel like it does roll out kind of a lot. So another thing you could do is you can get these bearings to be a little bit harder to roll, which could be as simple as like putting a zip tie around here so that there's a little bit of a drag point, but you have to get them exactly even, or do your nose gear. Because what that does is you get up to speed and you can lift that nose up and then get your airspeed up even more. So there's a couple of different ways to skin that cat. Obviously, you could put an avian ESC in here, but then you're gonna have to replace the receiver so that you can get your thrust reverse action. So it's gonna be kind of an expensive upgrade, like to the tune of twice the price of the plane by the time you do it. But then you would have thrust reverse and you could really just come in here and slow it down. Probably land it, you know, in a size like this, which is about 37 feet wide. So our main runway is about 222 feet edge to edge, but we don't use the last couple of feet because as it tapers away, we're pretty much always off the runway. Yep. And there's that one tree, point on camera so they can see it, that one that's like kind of tall. And the power company cleared that out when they put the power lines up, but honestly, it's kind of in a bad spot, so I'll probably get that one out of there at some point. I like that tree because one of them flowers and it's really pretty. So anyway, this is the most vulnerable time when you're flying too. When you're flying, the weather's good and the trees don't have any buds. They're hard to see those sticks. So you gotta be extra careful around them.
Yeah. Can I correct you on one thing so people aren't confused? When you were flying, you said reflex when you were talking about stabilization. And
it's a vector. I'm sorry.
If people are looking,
it's a vector. And I apologize because, you know, it's like,
it's hard to keep them all straight.
When you're dealing with RC branding and rebranding, it's tough to keep them straight, but this is definitely the vector. The vector, of course, is associated with Arrows, and then Arrows is obviously made by FMS, and FMS makes vector. Vortex. Reflex. Whatever it is. You guys gotta come up with better names because they're too hard to keep straight.
Something more different than...
So anyway, it's not like that's lost on us. I mean, if you've ever had an FMS, you're gonna know exactly what you're dealing with because they're in the same cabinet, they got the same performance, they got the same software. It's like, come on, guys. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think the general consensus is that FMS makes most of the airplanes that we end up working with, which is fine. Like, I mean, if they weren't good, we wouldn't do them. Right. So it's like, or we would do them and let you know. But we love this plane. This is definitely one to add to the hangar. If you like the F-86, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed with this. Okay, so now let's talk about the big con. And this is a big con for an EDF jet, and that is that these are fixed gear. Now, let's compare this to the X-Fly. Let's compare it to, what is it, the X-Fly A4. Oh gosh, I'm having trouble remembering it. But anyway, it's the new Boeing plane that's red and silver. Oh. Anyway, it's what? We don't remember, whatever it is.
You know, you people know.
It's a new one, it's a trainer. It's the new trainer, it's like the AT something or another. Yeah. But anyway, that plane has fixed gear too. The nice thing about fixed gear is it gives you the added ability to put a rudder on if you don't have a rudder already. This plane has a rudder. Now, anytime I've seen an anhedral or a dihedral on a tail feather like this, it almost always means that the rudder is gonna induce a lot of roll, because this plane has dihedral on the main wing and on the tail, okay? So my experience is whenever you have dihedral on a tail, it tends to roll the plane a lot with rudder input. So the rudder is not super effective, and if you want flat yaw, you have to use contrary ailerons, okay? So you have to go, like here, I'll just show you on the sticks because it'll make better sense if I do it that way. When you're flying a jet and you want to get a flat turn, which is, it's kind of rare to do a flat turn. What you're gonna do is let's say you want to roll to the right. Well, you know, you're going to roll to the right. When you want to roll to the left, you're going to roll to the left. Now, if you want to yaw to the right, you're going to yaw to the right, but you have to input a little teeny bit, just a little bit. And what you do is, you know, like you don't sit there and like look at the sticks and like, oh, I'm to the first hash. No, what you do is you look at the plane. Okay, so you're out here looking at the plane and you just kind of, you give the first input and then you respond. First input, respond, input, respond until it does what you want. And for those of you that are newer pilots, you'll get what I'm saying after you get a couple of years under your belt and you're not overthinking every control input. And it is a weird scenario. If you're an experienced pilot, forgive me for taking a second with the new people. When you're flying planes, there is a time, and you won't believe me. You won't believe me. You'll think I'm lying or exaggerating, and I'm not. I promise you I'm not. When you start flying, you think about it all the time. It is inclusive of, like when you take off, like, oh, kid's on fire, no big deal. I can put them out when I land. You know, I mean, it's like, it's that intense. Like you can't think about other stuff because you literally, your brain power will be consumed because you're so like this is hard. About 1 or 2 years in, depending on how good a pilot you are. I mean, maybe a little bit earlier, especially for your generation of kids that are used to playing video games a lot. You know, it might be after 6 months to a year or something like that. You're gonna stop thinking about what direction you're flying. You're just gonna be like, okay, I'm flying. It's like driving, you know, like when you're an adult, you can associate this with driving. You know, when you go to teach your kid to drive, oh God, this is gonna be scary. We have a couple of years left. But anyway, when you teach your kids to drive, you're like, oh, it's not that hard. You just press the gas pedal and you just turn the wheel. So why are you overcorrecting and all this stuff? I mean, if anybody who has trained another human to drive understands what I'm saying. It's the same principle, except you have 3 axes of control, okay? So steering, yeah, you're always on the ground. It's pretty simple, right? And you've got acceleration and deceleration. It's pretty simple. But with airplanes, there's, you know, 3 axes of control, and then throttle. And then the environment of the wind that you can't see, and the air and the thermals and all these different things. So it's a lot more complicated experience. But after maybe a year to 2 years, you just start to get it. And it's weird because when you start to think about it, then you crash. I'm serious. Because you'll be like, whoa, I got, what? And then you crash. You get distracted by yourself. It's a weird scenario. And you'll think I'm full of crap until you have it happen to you. And then you can think back and say, Brian was right. So anyway, this plane is awesome. I love the way it flies. I think you're gonna love it too. I don't like that it sits up on its tail when the battery's out of it, but that's not a big deal. We can ballast it if we wanna use it as a display piece. Yep. I love that the fixed gear look good. That is a big factor that I like in planes. If I'm gonna fly a plane and have fixed gear, I want them to look good. I felt like the X-Fly AT, whatever it is, was pretty good for that. Mm-hmm. Now let's also juxtapose this to the F-15 from E-Flight. Another good 64 millimeter. I think that X-Fly might have been a 70, so we might be a little bit unfair on our comparison there.
But it's pretty similar.
But that was a good plane. Yeah. It was a really good plane, but it didn't have a rudder. F-15 didn't have a rudder. Definitely didn't have flaps. Did the X-Fly have flaps?
Ooh.
No, we did flaperons. That's right. So with this package deal, you get a beautiful plane, scale finish, drop tanks. Well, you got missiles and ordnance on the F-15. I don't think you got any ordnance on the AT, whatever it was. AT-7, AT-7?
6.
AT-6? AT-6, whatever it is, guys, forgive me, it's a new plane. So anyway, it's a new plane, like it's a new real plane. It's not just a new model plane, right. But newer. They're all old. This plane's really old. So I feel like this is a good mix of like kind of all those factors, because you get the swept wing jet look, you get easy flight performance, you get good landing performance. you know, I feel like you got to change anything to get it to go. You didn't have to modify anything to get it to go. Those are all things that we look for. The build was super easy. I think the X-Fly was easy. The F-15 was also easy. So differences would be, I think the ordnance is more scale appropriate on this. The F-15 kind of had like cartoony ordnance, and I don't really care for ordnance on the smaller planes anyway, so I normally wouldn't even fly with these, but it helps to hide the gear.
It does.
So we made the decision to fly with these. Obviously without those, I think you get a little bit longer flight time. I also feel like the X-Fly, and the reason we're going through this is because they're all like similar price point. I think the X-Fly looks really nice, and it is beautiful, but the thing is, it's also, like, it's just not as popular of a plane, I believe. And again, that's a taste thing, but finish is great. Build was great. I did have to add a rudder, and I didn't have flaps, which means I had to buy an expensive receiver. This one comes with the Vector.
Yes.
Think about it there. And the other thing too is on the F-15, you get AS3X and Safe, which I think is just this little teeny tiny bit better if you're using Spectrum gear. But on this, you can use Spectrum gear, you use Futaba gear, you can use Lemon gear, you could use any other aftermarket, Orange, whatever. I don't care. Whatever receiver you want to use, it will work in this, which is really cool. So lots of good things to say about this Jolly Rogers F-86 by Arrows. And I think that you guys probably want to get one. I mean, you probably do. If you think that it looked good today flying, you're going to enjoy it. It's a fun flying plane. Now, one thing I can say about EDFs is short flight times leave you wanting. So if you're buying this and you're new, and this is like your second or third plane, I think it's going to be a sturdy platform. It's going to hold up to some rough landings. You will have a hard time painting the silver. It's hard to match silver, okay? But I think this would not be a bad choice for somebody that's looking at a second or third plane that would be an EDF. But just keep in mind, let's go over here. That wind is nasty. What I'm thinking about is that if you guys are into a second or third plane, so basically if you're looking at a second or third plane, I feel like you could do this. But just remember, if you do it, go through the radio setup part of our Unbox build radio setup, which is coming next. Make sure you follow it. It's really simple. Make sure you understand where safe is, and it's not safe. Auto leveling or stabilization plus or whatever they call it. It's just basically when it returns the wings to level when you let go. Okay, that's auto leveling. Stabilization, you definitely want that. And honestly, on a plane like this, for you more expert pilots, you may want to come up with a 3-position switch instead of a 2 like I did. Because you've got flaps here, and that's where I put flaps 100% of the time. This is where safe would be unless I have gear, and then I put safe over here. I have a hard time getting to the D switch compared to this. I mean, I get to it, it's just harder. For those of you guys that pincer grip, you may not have that same issue. I'm a thumb flyer. So have I missed it? Is there any stone unturned? I mean, this would be a good choice, is what I'm getting at.
For sure.
It'd be a good choice for an expert pilot. It'd be a good choice for, you know, like a newer pilot. Don't get this as your first plane, guys.
No.
You're probably going to disappoint yourselves because flying a first plane, you don't want to have a rollout that's that long. That's like that's probably a 160-foot rollout. And oh no, it rolled all the way down, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I had to jank it left and right to slow it down. So you're going to have a hard time. And landing an EDF jet is harder. So, I mean, it's not like it's hard, it's just harder. And the other thing too is if you get some tall grass, like here in a few weeks, we take hay on this property. So we hay the front, and then we have a guy that's haying the back for us this year because we bought some more land. But when you get tall grass like that, perfect opportunity to bail out. And if you're a new pilot, maybe it's even easier to just go ahead and pop the gear off, take off this thing. It's, you know, you just take out the set screw on the bottom and slide that out. And then you can take the drop tanks off so they don't rip out when you land, and just come in and land it in the tall grass. Just kind of slow down and it'll just like fall into the grass. It'll stall right into it. That'd be a good way to get away from that struggle that you might otherwise face as a new pilot. But you need something slower to learn. And you're not gonna think that I'm right until you've done it. And then you're gonna agree. But if you get something slower, it doesn't have to be a high wing. It doesn't have to be something, you know, like boring. It just, you won't think it's boring when you're flying it. I promise you that, because I'm an aviation nut. I love this stuff. I'm into it, all of it. And as I started flying, I had a bigger and bigger appreciation for the trainers. I still love flying trainers. You know, it's super fun. Who do we have up here?
Oh, he's way up there.
He's way up there. Man, the other day, that was crazy. That guy was only like 600-700 feet over our backyard. That was amazing. So anyway, in closing this part of the video, stay tuned. We're gonna do the unbox build radio setup. I just wanna encourage you guys, if you like this plane, go ahead and buy one from the link in the video description below. You'll help to support our channel through small commissions that they pay to us directly. You don't pay any extra to purchase it. They just give us a commission because they know we helped you guys decide to buy it. And again, we're not trying to trick you into something you don't want. We're trying to help you pick something you do want, because we care about that, and we don't work for them, we work for you guys. If you guys don't buy stuff, then we mean nothing to these vendors. So we're trying to perpetuate a cycle of interest in their equipment that they're offering, okay? So it's a win-win for everybody. There is no weird backdoor meetings that happen. It's just like they send us these awesome things, we fly them, you guys like them, you buy them, they scratch us on the back, and we keep doing the cycle. It's a great thing, we love it. We've done hundreds of planes. We're gonna hopefully do hundreds more, and we're gonna hopefully have lots of support in the meantime. And as you guys are getting into the hobby, I wanna encourage you to stop waiting. Just get into it. These things are not gonna get cheaper anytime soon. They're going to get more expensive. So if you're waiting for a sale, that's one thing. I know they do happen from time to time, but generally speaking, airplanes and everything are getting more expensive right now. That's what hyperinflation is, or stagnation, or whatever they're calling it now. So if you have $300 burning your hole in your pocket, you know, like in 10 years ago, it'd have been like, well, not 10 years ago, 6 years ago, it'd have been like, save your money and get something better. No, buy it, what you have, what's available, what's in stock. You have to make decisions a little bit different right now in the hobby. It's complicated to get what you want right now because stock has been so tough. Also, NX8 has been great. You will notice that I am struggling a little bit more with my scroller. It's been working good. That's what happens when you get them in the rain and you get a little bit of water in there. So I may have to take that thing apart and try to clean it before I send it to Spectrum to have it rebuilt. I don't think that's a user serviceable part. I mean, I could service it, but the thing is they probably won't let me. So I just don't want to send in my precious like 83 planes on here. Fortunately, it doesn't have any impact on flight performance. It's just a little bit annoying when I'm trying to scroll in certain values. And it wants to kind of jump a little bit, see, like that. So if you guys have ever run into that, that's a question for Spectrum. And don't forget, you don't go to Horizon Hobby for that. You go to spectrumrc.com to actually set up things like that, or call and you can talk to them. Or if you buy it from hobbyzone.com, you can call them up and they'll get you taken care of as well. So anyway, as always, leave the comments in the comment section below. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Obviously this plane is awesome. And then don't forget guys, even if you hate the plane, it's okay to thumb up a video that we did.
Just because you like us.
Just because you like the video. But at the same time, you know, sometimes we review planes that don't turn out as good as we'd like. And we have a doozy coming for you. XBC 100, make sure you got one of those in your tool bag. This is a very good tool. We use it a lot for servo testing. I had no idea how much we would use it. I have other servo testers, and I don't know, I had somebody, I think Tom might have given me that one, and I never got it to work.
I don't think I've ever seen you use anything else besides that.
Yeah, for servo this testing. Has been awesome. I use it almost, I don't want to say almost every build, but it's like, you know, we do a lot of bind and flies, but anytime we're doing a plug and fly, I pretty much use it. So very good tool to have, and it's actually a pretty cheap tool. I think it's like 40 bucks, maybe it's 50 bucks now, I have no idea. It's been a long time since we got that thing.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking at transmitters to get, the NX8 is a way to go, not the NX6. The 6 has the 7th channel, but just get the 8. The extra $40 or $50 difference in price is gonna put this in your hands, which you want a lanyard, even if you don't think you're gonna want it, you'll want it when you start flying. It also comes with the knob on the top, which we use almost all the time now when we're doing plug and flies. And it's got, I think, 3 extra switches, but it's got the extra channel. That's what you really need. I wish this was a 9-channel transmitter because 9 gets you like all the way. And we have had only one plane that has been short on 1 channel, and that was a 47 from Hangar 9 that had retracts, flaps, and I think we did flaperons on that one. Yeah, it was flaperons, because it has like a full length aileron. And we did not have enough channels to do the master gain and something else. I can't remember. You'll have to watch that video series if you're curious. But that is the one and only plane that we've done of recent vintage that we ran out of one channel. And then we ultimately just set the gains, and then we turned off that channel and then put master gains back on or something. I think we did a 3-position switch for it. So beyond that, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. So much more coming here on Brian Phillips RC. Don't forget to also check out brianphillipsrc.com. That is the same exact name as the YouTube part, YouTube/Brian Phillips RC. Nobody types these things, I realize, but if you're typing into your browser, Brian Phillips RC, there is a website. That website, it belongs to us, and the wonderful camera crew, my wonderful, beautiful wife, Megan, has put endless amounts of time into it. So basically what that's gonna do is help you to navigate through different planes a little bit easier than the playlist function on YouTube, because you can only load so many videos at a time, and you have to keep loading and loading and loading. Believe me, it's a pain in the butt, because I'm constantly navigating to try to help people find answers to questions. So this is gonna be better for you guys, better for us. You just click on the plane you want. We'll have some sort features that eventually come out, but right now it's a work in progress, and it probably will be for months or years to come. And we'll try to keep the most recent stuff up to date so that you don't have to search around for buy links. Also, another question that seems to be a big one that we've been getting lately is, when I go to buy this plane, do I have to like follow the link and then buy it and then go back and follow another link to give you guys credit? The answer to that question is no. When you follow the link to buy this plane, and let's say you buy the AR620 from Hobby Zone as well, and then you'd be buying it all there. They send us commission on all the stuff that you put in your cart. So now if you put it in your cart and then you come back like 3 months later, I don't think we'll get commission for that. You would have to do it again. So, which is fine, and you can do that. So anyway, I believe that's the way it works on most of the websites. We trust them. If we didn't trust these guys, we wouldn't be working with them in this regard. But at the same time, this plane and the other planes that we've done for Hobby Zone have been really good. And I had somebody else the other day that was talking about a Pioneer, and they had some trouble with it as a beginner. Guys have to remember, planes are delicate, even the best built ones. And you got to remember, go back 5 years into time. I know you can't if you're a new pilot, but just trust me, they are 100 times better than they were 5 years ago. So, well, maybe not 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So the advances that you're seeing, the technology that you have to help you fly, is by leaps and bounds better than what we even had when we were doing this. You couldn't get safe except for in 2 or 3 planes.
And if you're getting a small plane like that, like the Pioneer, that's a trainer intro plane, it's gonna get destroyed. Like, you're not gonna have that
plan on destroying it. Like, you will rebuild it 50 times.
Like, yours was mostly made out of tape and glue by the time
mine was
you
like,
were done with it.
Yeah, I had a Sport Cub S UMX, and I loved it. And I had other planes too at the time. I had a Habu, and guess what? That was a really fast EDF jet, 28 millimeter, worst size class ever. Horizon thankfully got to a 30 millimeter, and it's like way better, about like 65% more power. Plus in the 3S configuration, you actually can fly them, but they scream like crazy. So if you have tinnitus, you'll hate it. So anyway, that plane got crashed. At the time, I had what did I do? I think the Sport Cub S had a brushed motor, and it still does, which is ridiculous. And I took out the brushless ESC multi-purpose brick, which had safe. I mounted it vertical. It had no servos, so I added 2 servos and made my Sport Cub S a brushless version. And I flew the wings off of it, literally, because I probably flew that 1,000 times. And I was like heartbroken every time my motor would stop working. And it was like, on the poles, there would be like, on the regular brushed motor, you would get like brushes that would wear out. And so I would fly it for like 6-7 days. I would fly it so much that I would destroy the motor. I'd have to replace the motor like every week. So I had like 7 of them in stock.
Yeah.
So anyway, when you're a beginner, you want to fly bad, and you've only got 1 plane or 2 planes, and you're like, oh, please God, don't crash, because you don't want to not be able to fly, because like when you can fly, you want to fly like all the time, all day long, if you're anything like me. And that was a real story, true story. I'd go on vacation, I'd fly for like 10 hours. And then I'd be like, hey, it's dark, let's eat.
Yep.
That's pretty much how it went.
Hence our life now.
Well, our life is a little bit different now, but it's still, commands a lot. I mean, this is a lifestyle. You don't believe me yet. So anyway, guys, Brian Phillips story time went a little longer than expected, or average, if you're used to the channel. Definitely stick around for the Unbox build radio setup. And obviously, I know some of you guys are like, scroll, where's the radio setup? There it is. I know you're doing that. That's okay. It's all right. I get it. That's just part of the nature of the game. So we appreciate you being with us. Arrows, thanks for working with us. This is a great plane. Super excited to bring it to you here on Brian Phillips RC. Stay tuned. So much more. YouTube, Brian Phillips. Box. We're going to open it. Super excited for this one. This is gonna be so good. It's gonna be huge. Just you wait and see, camera crew. Oh yeah, it's the F-86. Beautiful. All right, so we're gonna pull this thing out of the box. We're gonna see just how easy it is to build and how not 20 hours it takes.
Yes, please.
There's some paperwork in here. Looks like that goes to us from somewhere. We'll just put that in yonder. So as you can see, it is silver 64 millimeter 64 millimeter EDF, 860 millimeters wingspan. That's weird. I thought it was bigger than that. Overall length 820, flying weight around 1,050 grams. It's got a 2840 3150 kV motor with a 40 amp ESC. Looks like it uses 8 9-gram servos. Requires a 6 channel radio, and the center of gravity is 130 to 140 from the leading edge. It's got a 12-bladed fan, and they recommend a 4S 22 through 2600 at 35C. So nothing out of the ordinary in that regard, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, why do we have so many servos? Oh, because there's a split tail. That's why. The elevator is 2 servos. Okay, so we'll let you guys see the packaging as we bring this thing out. Everything looks nice and solid. I did notice from the bottom, this kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, I noticed that when you picked it up or
See that?
turned it around.
That thing's sticking through. That's always kind of scary. I hope that doesn't mean there's something broke. But this does come equipped with the Vector, which is really awesome. So that means you can get away with a 6-channel receiver that's simple. Oh boy, looks really, really easy. Awesome. Oh look, the P51 requires a battery. Pretty sure this isn't a P51.
Well, you know, I mean.
You know, it's interchangeable airplane.
It's kind of close. It has wings.
So anyway, we're just gonna pull this thing out and see how it looks. So far, the silver paint looks really nice. Oh yeah. Like the pockets for the servos, almost totally hidden there. Unfortunate F. It's kind of like the, yeah, it's like the FP / other letter. Just the way that the servo lined up. Clip-in landing gear, you can go with or without landing gear. Nice tight lines on everything. Not as many of these mold release bumps on the top, which is nice. Everything feels like this is just ready to receive a plastic piece here. This is plastic, the paint's really good. Okay, so not much work there involved, which is the way we like it. I do find it a little bit strange that this has flaps, but then no retracts. That is a little bit unusual in my opinion, but this is not as big as I thought it was gonna be. There's your extra servos. Classic dihedral on the horizontal stabilizer, which is a little bit unusual. Ooh, what are these servos anyway? These are, looks like standard stuff. Analog, HGP. I can't tell if that's plastic or not. I was just gonna tell you guys if it was plastic or not. Ball joints on everything, which is really cool. On the back, ball joints up here too. I didn't even notice. Ball joints seem to be kind of like the going thing now, which is really nice. Look how good the silver matches.
Yeah. And
then nothing peeling, that's really nice. Beautiful, really clean. Okay, so like I said, the wingspan is not that big. So that's interesting. It's always easier to transport a smaller plane, but we haven't done a lot of jets that are small like that. Okay, so the wing joiner, carbon fiber for sure. You can tell by the noise. If that was plastic, it would be like gook, 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 instead of ding, ding, ding.
The See? Official.
That's, yeah, I mean, that's exactly.
Sound of carbon fiber.
That's right, carbon fiber. Sounds different. Okay, we got some nice drop tanks here. Real simple looking, which is the way it would be in real life. I don't know if I want to fly with it. It's not technically ordnance, but it's ordnance. Landing gear are up in this pocket here, guys. It's covered with foam. So you want to check on that. Landing gear look nice, got the nice tread pattern on them, but they're hard as rock. So if you're listening, soft tires, some year, it'd be cool to have them. Cheater here. Kind of strange, cheater isn't installed. And then I like the squatty nose gear with a little bit of spring action. A little bit of spring action goes a long ways on aircraft.
Is that cheater the wing joiner? Is that what joins the
maybe that's
together?
What it is. I thought that was a little bit strange way to do it, but whatever. Obviously that's not gonna stand up for us. Rudder looks beautiful. A little bit of pockets here. A little bit of air bubbles there. You didn't quite get that one as tight as the others. Oh, you know why there's bumps? Bumps in the foam lead to bumps in the finish on there. It's like these things. Looks really nice. Plastic on the bottom, real sturdy. Probably some carbon fiber in there, but I can't tell other than the fact that it's quite sturdy. If you have a nose over, which I don't know if you have a nose over on this because of the tricycle. I think you're gonna be more inclined to tip sideways like on the F-16s we've had in the past, because the way that the landing gear mount, it looks like it's got a pretty wide stance to it. So I think we'll be okay. Another servo buried under here, of course. 9-gram servo still. This one was pushed, which is a little bit weird. Okay, so that should be no problem though. Canopy looks real simple. Obviously you don't want to have silver canopy on a silver plane. It'll look totally dumb. So they've opted for a dark gray, which is pretty cool, but not super detailed and hollow, so quite light. That's pretty cool too. EDF jets, in my experience, you want to get them as tail heavy as you can fly them so you can flare on landing. Nose heavy will fly really stable. Tail heavy will fly understable, which means wanting to flip over all the time. Just kind of studying it. FU 834. Just wanted to make sure to read that and announce it to our special people. Love the nose. Look at that. Feel that, camera crew.
It's
plastic.
Oh, it is.
That's perfect. So that'll help protect the nose. Looks like there's nothing wrong at all there. That must have been by design. It's kind of a weird design though.
It is a little bit.
Okay, so the vector's in there obviously. Looks like 2 straps for the battery. So the battery's probably gonna go here. Just kidding, guys.
Hopefully not.
We're gonna have to do the shelf liner trick again. And it looks like, what's this? Oh, that is plugged in. I thought it was unplugged. So it looks like an XT60. Should be no problem there. Steerable nose gear up here. Separate servo as opposed to sharing and having a linkage going through the plane. Looks like a sweet fan. Real excited about that. Everything's real easy to get in and out of. 2 screws and that thing comes out, which is nice. I like that the thrust tube gets narrower, so that's cool. We're gonna amplify that air. Feels really solid, guys. Look at this. Look at this. Barely any flex. And I mean, I've got a death grip. That's what everybody tells me when I shake their hand. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that's everything that was in here. And yes, that was supposed to penetrate. See, look, that was supposed to penetrate.
Oh, yes.
A nutsack, bolt
it's in
nutsack.
with the. It's in with the that.
With the cheater?
Yep.
It's in with the that thing.
That thing.
Okay, good. So we'll take a second, get cleaned up, and come right back. All right, guys. So this is going to be a quick build compared to our last 20-hour-long build. Yeah. Our video was so long that we literally had to break up the video because we were not allowed to upload it because it was that long. Mm-hmm.
There is a limit.
There is a limit. And it's 256 gigabytes. And our file was like 400 and some odd gigabytes.
Or 12 hours.
Or 12 hours,
and
whichever comes first.
We exceeded both of those.
We exceeded both by a long ways. Not by a little, by a long ways. And we ran our hard drive out of space attempting to compile them together.
On a brand new computer.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with it. It's still just, it was ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. The last time we time-lapsed it, we had at least one person that was upset. So we're like, well, we'll just do the next one full length. Because we do long videos. We do long format videos. Okay, so obviously we need to put the wing on. And putting the wing on, we must pass these wires through. That is a really like weirdly strange spot. One's labeled flap, one's not labeled. So I suppose one would deduce that that's not going to be the aileron from the same side, you know what I mean, Jean? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that part's going to kind of not be very fun. Okay, so the F-86, by the way, thank you guys for being patient with us on this one. There were some stocking issues that prevented us from getting it earlier. We would have loved to bring it to you earlier, but we just didn't get the opportunity this time. Maybe at some point in the future that will happen. But for now, we've been super duper happy to be involved with Arrow's products. They've been very good. And we really like working with hobbyzone.com to bring you this new exciting option. And I hope those are coming through. We're just gonna have to throw caution to the wind. That dropped in real easy. Cheater obviously goes this way. I'm not gonna get too excited yet because I wanna make sure those wires came through. Pretty obvious which way that goes, except that it's not so terribly obvious. Yeah, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Sucks the air in, directs it into the fan. But that fitment, I feel like I'm kind of maybe not perfect on the alignment there for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Kind of, it's awkward because you can't press square on it because the wings are stuck back at an angle. And what do we call that?
When the wings are stuck back at an angle? Swept?
Yeah. Swept.
Oh, good.
Thank you. That was for all of you people. So you have ammunition to use against me. Swept wing. The swept wing design for sonic airspeed, supersonic.
I usually study for my aviation pop quizzes.
You do? Wow.
Watch a lot of Brian Phillips RC. He's pretty good.
You watch it being filmed.
He's kind of cute. I mean.
Oh, thank you. Makes me feel better about my stupid answer. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that went together. I was not going to do that.
I was going to say that you were waiting.
I wasn't going to do it, but then I'm like, oh.
What? Oh.
Well, let's see if it pulls through. Oh yeah, look, there it is. So you guys might want to do better than I did. Make sure your wires are through before you get too excited. Awkward. Awkward when your dingling sticks out the side of your thingy. That's probably why it wouldn't go together right. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab the other side and pull those through too. And yep, they did come through. And guess what? Now everything is perfectly aligned. I actually really like this size. It reminds me of the T-33, except this thing is gonna be even more insane. And it's by definition 4S. So that's pretty sweet. Instead of by cheating.
It kind of reminds me of the Vampire.
The Vampire is, it had, you know, some similarities.
Yeah.
But this is a way more popular plane. This is a way more popular plane. The F-86 is like a major wartime hero bird. Whereas that was finished after the war was over.
They were behind schedule.
They were behind schedule,
COVID,
yeah.
COVID delays.
So you historians can correct me.
You can tell me why, yes.
I'm not sure how I feel about this sticking out though, because you can take it off, but my apprehension is if you were gonna be doing belly landings, I'm assuming you have to take that off. I love the lines on it though. It looks sweet. That thing is gonna be so cool when it's going by like at 4,000 miles an hour. Oh, simulated.
It'd be fun to film. Simulated
4,000 miles an hour. Okay, so let's plop this lid on. Oh yeah. Oh, it's getting beautiful. This build's taking forever.
Jeez. I can't believe I put up with this.
Minutes. See?
It has been. It's like...
We obviously picked the wrong last build. Obviously.
Actually, we technically have done another one since then. That one's just fresh and the wounds are still fresh.
It still hurts because I was still trying to get the videos done for YouTube. So guys, make no mistake. After about the 1600th video that you make, they start kind of running together in your brain. And these are labeled elevator. So now this one's red, white, and black, which would be like the Futaba colors, and this would be like the Hextronics colors, or JR, which is like Horizon, okay? Okay, so you got your white goes to your orange, your red goes to red, and brown goes to brown. Red's always in the middle, so if you hook it up backward, it won't work, but it hypothetically shouldn't damage anything, okay? Now, you see how this is way back like that, and it's kind of like not ideal? The
wires themselves?
Yeah, the trick of the day is this, okay? So you see how I'm pulling that? That's a servo extension. Now I want to pull the other one. I don't know what that is. That says, I don't know what the heck that is. Actually, it's not hooked to anything. So then this other one must be, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. It's glued in there, sort of. Oh, good. Okay, so that's pulling. Then this is pulling. Okay, so I'm just trying to do it gentle so that we don't have a big tragedy. What am I trying to say? Tragedy. Why is there a Y cable on here? Oh, that's for the ailerons or flaps or something.
Yep.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is this one you want to be back further because it is in fact our rudder. And yeah, it's tangled, so we're gonna untangle that right now. Okay, so unplug that, take it to the other side, make sure my brown is up, slip them together. Good anti-unpluggers being used. Is that the technical terminology?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm gonna take these two wires here, and we'll just go ahead and pull those gently while guiding it around this one standoff. The standoff, of course, is what's gonna be reaching up and accepting the screws from above. Okay, so you see I'm just gonna very carefully pull that through so we don't unhook anything by pulling. Okay, and then just try to tuck your labels down. Some of these steps are somewhat awkward, but sometimes they're just, I'm not very good at it. Oh, good, look at that. Look at that. I just need that to go through the middle, don't I? Do I?
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, I probably should work that through the middle if I can. It's not gonna go through the middle. That's where that goes. then that one's gonna be like this. So it can plug into the rudder. Got the brown toward my belly, brown toward my belly. Then plug it in. I'm sorry guys, sometimes these steps, my hands block a lot of what you need to see. So I'll try to come back and show you. See brown to brown. Then we can take the rudder length, which is here. We can kind of tug that back. There we go. You see just in, this is one of those times when you just want to spend a couple of seconds and get it right now. It's going to be a lot easier on you later than when you have, I mean, a rudder coming undone in flight would, you know, be awkward, but you'd probably be able to recover from it, depending on how bad the rudder was moving at the time. Okay. I'll try to get those connectors in the opening, the cavity there. Drop that thing down.
You actually screw that elevator in first, or the horizontal stabilizer, before the rudder goes on?
No, it all goes together on the top.
As one assembly?
Yeah. Which I feel like it's in there. It's just kind of a tighter squeeze than I'd like. And the reason it's tighter is just because of the nature of the plugs. And I don't want that thing sticking out. So I guess I'm kind of glad I noticed that. So I need 3. They gave us 1 extra.
That makes sense.
Looks like. Pretty customary on these Arrows models to get maybe 1 extra screw, depending on like if it's a weird screw or not. I'm just having trouble with those connectors though. Like trying to find a spot where I can tuck them down. I don't know if you can see that on the video.
Yeah, you can kind of see on the other side they're sticking up a
They're
little bit.
fighting me.
Yeah.
Quite a little bit. I mean, it's not like it's super hard to get it together. It's just, I think it's just pushing up a little bit. Oh yeah, it cinched right down.
Yeah.
Show the people from the other angle that tight transition
that looks really
there.
good.
Looks really nice. Guys, these builds are getting so easy.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So much easier than what they were just a few days ago. We went through that terrible build. I'm still having nightmares about it. You guys will love it though. You'll love it. It's great. Great video.
Yep.
Not boring at all.
Videos.
Me and the camera crew had a good old time. Just hanging out, doing what we love doing. Tedious builds. Tedious, endless builds. Okay, so we'll bring that down flush. Oh yeah, perfect. Guys, these things just go together so nice. We've had, what, like 2 or 3 little minor issues on Arrows builds. This thing is built. I mean, the landing gear aren't on and the radio's not in, but it's together. A little bit of tucking of wires and things left that'll be, it's gonna be necessary, but that is so sweet. That is really cool. Love the way it looks. Love the compact size.
Yep.
That is so cool. I love that it does have gear too. I wish it had LEDs, that'd be cool, but it has flaps. And I definitely don't want to complain because flaps, to me, that's a big deal. Love the scale lines. Sweet. That is so cool. Okay, so let's continue onward. And what are you thinking? Landing gear probably?
Yeah.
Okay. You slide them over.
Oh, are you gonna put are those drop tanks?
Does that go that? Yeah, it goes that way. Yeah, those are drop tanks.
You'll put them on because you usually fly with like whatever the stock configuration is, right? First, or are you thinking no?
I don't know. Probably probably do the drop tanks. This is a 1.5 now.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll drop that down in there, tighten that up. Pretty simple. I mean, and then when you get ready to take it off, you'll take it off from down here, if you were gonna take it off. And then these always make me a little bit nervous because the way they go in is like this and then they snap back.
Oh.
that was such a non-issue. I'm always like scared to death because they almost always rip out of the wing. That went perfect. Okay, well, you win some and you lose some. I'd say we won this one. I wonder if we have some rocket pods or something downstairs from one of our other planes. Because even though the drop tanks are cool, I think rocket pods would be even cooler. And they'd be small. I think the P-47 had rocket pods. That is so sweet.
Do you know how long that took?
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
We're at 25 right now, and that's unboxing and you talking and building it.
So you could have done it in like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow. But we aren't technically done.
Right.
Because we have radio setup to do, which is going to include mounting the radio.
Yep.
And so I think what we're going to do is we are going to do, and we have a Y cable here for the flaps. And that's because we do a plane like this, the Vector is not going to handle the flaps because it doesn't need to handle the flaps. That's just going to be the primary control surfaces like elevator, rudder, and ailerons. Just kind of untangle some stuff here a little bit. Make sure we're going the right direction. I feel like this is not terrible right now. Let's get this done too. Okay, high quality straps, the way they should be in every airplane. Short, the proper length for the proper plane. Okay. And remember, this does call out. Okay, so you see this? This wire needs to be on the other side of the strap. I do not want that tucked under with my battery. I want that over here. And to be honest, I'd like that to be stuck into the side somehow. So if you guys want to do this, what you can do is you can take and hot glue that to the side. And that would be nice. Or even bring it forward, but you can't quite reach either side, which kind of is a bummer. Just like that. And where's the receiver gonna go though? Well, since it's not a stabilized receiver, it should be pretty simple. You could even drop that in underneath. But see, that's a real intake. So if you put it underneath, look where the straps are. You see the strap? So don't forget, guys, if you have your strap undone and you only use one for your battery, tighten up the second strap, or you might make a big old air dam inside of there. That could be a problem, so you want to watch for that. What else? I just want to go ahead and get this XT60 like that. And then I think we should be allowed to go ahead and stuff these wires up in there where the ESC is. Okay, so ailerons from the receiver, elevator from the receiver, S-bus, PPM mode. That's how you turn on auto leveling, throttle, and rudder. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 perfect plus flaps. And the flaps, of course, are here. Where did I put that Y cable?
I think it's right
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the flaps are going to be just a simple Y cable. So just make sure you get your brown to brown. Okay, and then flap over here. I love that Arrows is doing this with their planes because flaps widen up the flight envelope so much. And, you know, like there's a lot of times, I just felt like when I first got into the hobby, all you would ever hear from, you know, the RC experts was, it doesn't need flaps. And I'm like, I don't need a radio controlled airplane. Well, I mean, I need one, but I don't need it. I'm not gonna die without it. So even if I really think I need it, I don't need it. Just like I don't need flaps, just like I don't need retracts, just like I don't need drop tanks. You know, it's like, but I want it.
Right.
And, you know, if you're spending the kind of cash you're spending for some of these planes, I really think flaps are they're becoming an ordinary part, an ordinary expectation within the arena of different radio controlled airplanes. And I think that's the way it should be. So I'm really happy to report that this thing has flaps because flaps just make it so much more cool, even if you don't need it. And there are planes that just don't need flaps. Many of them. But it's fun. It opens up a whole new, it's another thing you get to do while you're flying, which I think is super fun. Okay, so what's this one? This is aileron, so we need to hook that up to the output, which is aileron. Okay, so brown is down, brown is down. Okay, cool. So we'll get that plugged in. I don't think I'm going to be able to really necessarily see. I was thinking if I kept an opening on one side or the other, I could probably go ahead and do my receiver over there. So we are actually waiting on our receiver right now, which is a bummer because we would have loved to have this done, but it's dark as you can see. And we actually had a big rainstorm come through. So we were able to kind of get a little bit of flying in the rain, which is weird. But we did that with the trucker too, and it was just super fun. Okay, so this is going to the rudder. This is going to the elevator. This is also going to the elevator, and then this is going to the ESC. So we're going to attempt to untangle all this crap, which is never fun. And I don't know if you guys enjoy watching me untangle stuff. I just find it really frustrating when things are tangled, so I always try to untangle them as I go. And it's weird because, you know, a lot of people are like, you know, your install looks really clean when you're done, and then some of you are kind of like puking in the background. It just depends on your taste, but I've seen some planes once people open them up and I'm like, wow, that's scary. Like, that's flight worthy. Just because all the wires and stuff are just a giant bundle. And I mean, once you're done and you've vetted everything, then you can bundle them up and then re-vet to make sure that things are gonna work. But it is, you know, like probably a good idea to kind of have everything in such a way that you can tell that it's still safe for the next flight and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is the elevator Y splitter, and it splits, and it's kind of a big Y splitter. I'm just trying to pull these labels back. Goodness gracious. They're just like right up on our business. In fact, I'm gonna pull that out. See, what I'm struggling with there is the way that it's tangled up. See, once it's untangled like that, then you can actually make it clean. See how it's flat now? And before it was like a big struggle. Cool. Okay, so now I can tug on that gently. I'm gonna do a loop for cable management. And then I need brown is down. Ooh, so I wanna loop the other way probably if I can do it. I just feel like this is kind of maybe tangled. And you don't have to do any of this. This is just optional. That's on the elevator plug. The vector is labeled for all the different primary axes here. It says flight mode, rudder, throttle, elevator, aileron. Yeah, so flight mode, that's weird. Oh, this is where it plugs into the flight mode. Has an output too. Wonder what you would use that for. Oh, you know what? I wonder if you could then hook up your flaps to that and you would just have your flaps as part of that flight mode. So like it's a pass through. But I mean, it really doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. You can just use a Y cable too. But we'll find out at some point. Someday we'll test that. But anyway, so you see this, I've got this nice loop here. And so now that I have this simple and nice loop here and not a big tangled mess, I can kind of put those together like this, squeeze it, and then just push it in. And I'm gonna take my pinky finger and just go back until I hit the ESC, which I can feel the ESC's capacitors as I do that. I probably should have bundled that up with it, which of course is the rudder. And then remember, this is where the canopy is gonna be resting, but it doesn't penetrate in like the front, okay? Because that's the way it looks. If you're looking at it, you would think, well, you gotta put the canopy in there. No, canopy, it goes in. The nose has the knob, first. Okay. Cool. Okay, so once we're done with that, we should be ready to go ahead and throw in a receiver at our convenience. And then these can be just out of the way for now. I'm assuming that it'll probably go a little something like this, where this and these, they all go to the receiver. And then the receiver is just kind of plopped in here, something like this. Because it's a non-stabilized receiver, it shouldn't matter. So we're ready to receive that receiver.
Nice.
It's going to be a very accepting thing when we receive our receiver. Okay, perfect. Now, we have to do one other small upgrade management item, which is going to be shelf liner. Shelf liner is the ticket. Somebody gave me this idea a long time ago and I adopted it, and then I just kind of like didn't do it for a long time for some reason. And now I've come back. This was never my original idea. I got this from some guy a long time ago, and then I've gotten comments about it for years. I hate Velcro on my batteries because I feel like no matter what you do, you always have the Velcro on the wrong dang side, or you have to cover up the label. Like for instance, this one, there's Velcro on there, okay? But you can read the label. Well, what if you need the lead on the other side? Well, then it's useless to you. Same thing here. You know, you either cover up the safety label or you cover up the important label. So it's like either way, I feel like you're kind of screwed, right? So then all we have to do is super simple, just stick it down. This is just regular run-of-the-mill shelf liner like you'd put in your shelf so that your, you know, little drawer liners keeps everything from slipping. And then this sticks to the Velcro, and then that doesn't move. The battery is then stuck on there. So it works really sharp. Of course, you have to stick the Velcro down. Now, one problem with this is that you are not going to be able to slide a battery forward and backward, which is a double-edged sword because you don't want it to slide. It's a Sabre. I don't even think a Sabre is actually double-sided, but I think it's single-sided.
I don't actually know.
I think it's single-sided because it's Sabre sword, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it would be double-sided, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
I don't know anything about swords.
Maybe it's a...
If you guys know the answer to the question that we didn't really mean to ask, leave it in the comments below. And by the way, thank you guys for the plethora of communication. We enjoy comments. It's part of our life, and we try our best to keep up with. She's smirking like I'm being smartass.
It is part of our life. That was true.
I enjoy comments, but it gets a little bit heavy sometimes when there's like 3 weeks to catch up on.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just because it gets busy in our world. But we do appreciate all the comments and stuff. That is one of the things that YouTube looks at. Engagement's a big thing. So engagement's always good. You know, we appreciate it. Obviously, we have a lot of really good supporters on our channel, so we appreciate you guys. And we know we do things a little bit different than the other people that do RC reviews. Sometimes we're a lot slower than people. Sometimes we're a lot faster than other people. Just kind of depends on your taste. And obviously we're meeting somebody's needs because you keep coming back, which is really nice. Okay, so you see that? Mm-hmm. I can't make my lead reach. So you'll note that the vector wires are coming out right at the end. Not maybe ideal. And watch this, I won't hardly be able to slide this. I'm just afraid I'm gonna break something, so I have to grab it by the thrust tube. Whoa. Ooh. Grab them by the thrust tube. I feel like somebody gave recommendations about that once. Grab them by, might have used different nomenclature, I'm not sure. Maybe. Nope.
Do you want to mark the CG today too?
I do, but we really technically can't because we don't have all the weight in here, i.e. the receiver. I mean, it's of minimal consequence, I agree, but this is a 50C pack because they want a 35C. And we may end up flying this with an Arrows pack because I'm assuming the Arrows going to want us to use the Arrows pack. So we'll try it with the Arrows pack, and then, you know, maybe for second thoughts or even in the initial flights, we'll use a Smart Pack as well. You can actually buy Smart Packs when you're buying your airplane from hobbyzone.com too. And you can buy the receiver as well. So we'll have links to that in the video description below. Obviously, the best way you can support us is by watching the videos and then buying the stuff from the links. Not only does that make us a little bit of money, which helps to fund our channel through small commissions. You don't pay any extra. We just get a small commission on the sales that are generated through those links. And then you guys, you know, get the plane and you get to enjoy it along with us. And we have nothing to gain by misleading you. If a plane sucks, we'll let you know that. But we do have to be kind of nice to our vendors and distributors, manufacturers that we work with. We want to be fair, but if they're terrible, we pretty much tell it the way it is. And that's the reason why we only work with a certain number of vendors, because not all of them are okay with that. And we tell them point blank when we start working with them, we say, we do honest reviews. If you don't like that, call RC sales. What? I have a cough or something.
I know, that was terrible.
So we need to mark the CG, and the CG, of course, is going to be, my camera crew rightfully pointed out that we should do it. Oh, did they do it with the gas tank? Oh, that'd be awesome if they did. There's a gas tank filled spot. Oh. How cool would that be if they did that?
That would be super smart.
You know what? It almost looks like it's about right. So when we get the new battery and receiver in there, we're obviously going to reinvestigate where the CG is, and we'll see kind of where that is. They suggested 22 to 2600 milliamp hours, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, it may actually be okay the way that we have it with a 2200 for us. And I had this interesting interaction with one of our subscribers, and newer subscriber was upset because I think they thought we were trying to mislead, because the way we start our timer is with a 1 out. We've always done a 1 out. And it's just, I just think in airplanes, once you give it throttle, you're flying. And we fly with like almost exclusively stabilized receivers, which you can look at the milliamp draw if you have a battery meter, and you will consume a lot of power just going through the air without your throttle on. And so anyway, the point is we fly with the Spectrum stuff because we work with Horizon a lot. And these guys also sell the Horizon packs, but we don't mislead about flight times. Like, we're 100% honest about all that stuff. There's no reason for us to mislead. So anyway, it turned into a thing, which is always fun. That's part of probably the best part of running a YouTube channel, is dealing with things. So anyway, nothing like a good text message to communicate all aspects of feelings and sarcasms and things like this, because that never leads to hurt feelings.
Misunderstood.
Never gets misunderstood, and never causes problems, ever. Okay, so you'll see what I'm doing. I'm trying to determine if this is what they meant by the leading edge, because they do mark it as a leading edge, and this is something the hobby companies could really come up with a little bit of, I mean, there's a big enough disparity here between here and there, or between here and where that curve stops. It's almost like an infinite response. Like, where exactly does it start? I'm gonna treat it like the edge of the wing, okay? Like where the body part starts, okay? So anyway, finishing up the story. So this particular viewer was upset because we didn't want to adopt his idea. And so we didn't really mean to make a big thing of it, but sometimes that happens. Because after you get the same suggestion, like, you know, 7 or 8 or 10 times or whatever it was, it gets a little bit frustrating. So, 1 out timers are, in our opinion, in my opinion, the way to go. But a lot of people like using just throttle on timers, and particularly in helicopters, that's the way I do it. Or drones, things that have a motor that's always running. Sailplanes, however, I will do 1 outs almost never, because I can go up there and sail for a long time, like an hour, hour and a quarter, something like that, depending on what the plane is and if I'm in a slope. Okay, so 130 millimeters to 140 millimeters, the center of gravity marks are gonna be kind of tough on this plane because you're so far out by the time you wanna mark it. But that looks about right. You know, it ends up being about where this cover is, like really. So anyway, if you haven't experienced a misunderstanding yet on Brian Phillips RC, just wait longer. I'm sure you will eventually. But at the end of the day, we have to kind of keep our channel under control and stop dumpster fires before they get too out of hand. So dumpster fires are no fun for anybody. There's too much awesome about this hobby to let one little minor disagreement become an issue, and we just have to eventually cut it off with a fire hose. That does not look like the same size as that. Did you just notice that? Like, I did a really bad job. No, the gap. Gosh, this one's kind of hard to mark.
Oh.
I just feel like I'm trying my best to estimate, and it is actually, I think this back mark is actually a little bit too far back. Yep, I kind of screwed the pooch on that one. I feel like that's where it should be. Okay, so let's show people what to do if you make your center of gravity mark in the wrong spot, because that's a little bit embarrassing. You can do this a couple of different ways. First of all, some people don't like that mark method. They'll put a piece of tape down, a little hot glue. I used to do that a lot myself. Some people will use CA to make a bump. Some people use push tacks. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. But then what you can do is if you make a mistake, you can find alcohol and not liquor. I mean, you could probably use that too. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some isopropyl alcohol and we're gonna undo that mark. I'll be right back. So this is 91% isopropyl alcohol. And it's just, you know, like medical stuff that you get for cuts and stuff like that. And you'll find out that it's way cheaper to buy the medical stuff than it is to buy like an electronic style, even though the percentages are similar. I always thought that was weird.
They make rubbing alcohol for electronics or alcohol?
Yeah, they call it contact cleaner. Oh. Yeah, but you can just, I mean, I think the idea is that there, you know, maybe is a little bit better refining process or something. I don't know. I don't really buy that. I just buy the cheapest crap I can get that does the job perfectly every time. Okay, so see how perfectly that came out? That's a hilarious joke,
super
YouTube.
Perfect.
I had somebody suggest this the other day, and I mean, it's like, yeah, sure, I guess alcohol should take it off, unless you really get in there and just spin it.
Well, yeah.
But honestly, that's...
From back here, it looks really good.
100 miles an hour, 5 feet away, you won't even be able to tell, unless I told you about it, put it on the worldwide interweb. But yeah, that's... that should be fine. That won't, I don't think that'll be a big issue. And that is a little bit disappointing that I screwed that up so bad. I almost feel like I should make it match on the other side now. What do you think, camera crew? No, you're voting no. I can tell you're voting no. The funny thing is, I've come to like not even notice my center of gravity marks. I'm just so used to doing
Oh yeah, I don't ever even like think about them.
But it is really nice to know what size battery and where the battery is gonna go, because then once you've kind of tested the CG, you don't have to like do it a million times.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just, I mean, there's gonna be a little teeny bit of disparity with the receiver, but let's just see, I'm on the back hole, tail heavy, front hole, tail heavy. Eesh, a lot. Did you see how much that was? I mean, it wasn't close at all. So, you remember my hilarious joke about where that battery was gonna end up? Yeah, maybe it wasn't such a hilarious joke, it was probably the truth. Okay, shelf liner, you're doing the trick perfectly. Okay, so now remember, this is a smaller battery. They suggest 2200 through 2600. Be real mindful of your steering servo here. So I'm gonna go like all the way up so it's basically bumping, because I feel like that's probably about where it needs to be. But you know what's great about this is, I was just saying earlier, a lot of times you don't have that flexibility.
Right.
You're fighting to get the battery back so you can get the center of gravity, which is like every jet we've ever done. Okay, so on the back hole, that's pretty perfect. On the front hole, it is tail heavy. Not 100% sure what to do on that.
But you want it to be a little bit tail heavy, right? Or was that too much?
You don't want it tail heavy at all. You just want it to be on the tail heavy side. So I may have misspoken if my camera crew misunderstood me. So what I mean by that is, I mean, it's a stabilized receiver and everything, so you're gonna get some out there, but you still don't want a straight up tail heavy plane. I wouldn't call that tail heavy. I would call that balanced on the tail end of the CG, because I'm on those back holes.
Yeah.
Should be fine. And I love the way it looks. When I was walking back from getting that alcohol, I was just talking about how much I love the way it looks. And I love that the landing gear, even though they're landing gear, you know, that you'd like to have retracts, but I feel like the landing gear on this particular plane are nice looking. They're small, they're short. It gives the stance of the plane about what you would expect. And guess what? The drop tanks obscure what would be gear door. So I like that. The nose gear, the bogey, with that bend in it, almost kind of simulates an oleo, in my opinion. So I like the way it looks. Usually with jets, I loathe landing gear because I think they're just ugly. But depending on how wide the flight envelope is, I have some ideas on this, and I might want to do belly landings, but I'm just going to warn you right now, belly landings with this, you're going to be picking up a lot of crap, and that is going straight to your EDF. So be careful. If you come in, you better have that EDF off, and you better take it and shake that grass out. Otherwise, you're going to be shooting grass like out the back like a salad shooter. So super excited to finish this build. Guys, we're going to be doing the radio setup. Should be a pretty straightforward process. We'll use the NX8, which is back here hiding by the bananas. And we will use an AR620 is what we're going to use, which will give us the ability to turn. We're going to have elevator, rudder, flaps. Did I say ailerons? Mm-hmm. Mode, and then
throttle.
Yeah, throttle. So that's 6. So we should be good to go. And then if you decide to buy this, or you're buying this without or absent the Vector, and this is the Vector stabilizer, I would recommend in this plane, because where all the wires come in, you might want to go with the AR630 as opposed to the AR631, which is kind of like this price point kind of matches. I wouldn't do an AR637T. It's just too expensive for this type of plane, in my opinion, because you know you're in it well over $100 for that thing, and that's a pretty economical plane. So I would definitely do a 630. I mean, just the size class, you're not going to be getting miles and miles away from yourself, hopefully, and that'll give you plenty of range. So for $5 more, you get top. The AR630 has end pins, so it would fit almost exactly where this Vector is. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it's about the same size too. Slightly longer because the body has protection around the end pins. But then the 631 would have vertical pins, so they call it like a top pin, and might be a little easier to plug in, and you could probably tuck it back a little further, but then you have an antenna you have to deal with. It always gets tight in these jets. Look at this. We don't even have the receiver in there, and look. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it looks pretty well laid out and everything. I love that it sits on its nose gear. That's one of my big gripes with jets like this, is I hate that they sit on their tail when there's no battery in there. In fact, that Cessna Longitude UMX, that one up there, I think I have like screwdrivers, you know, so you got like 400 China screwdrivers. Yep. We use that to ballast that. And same thing on this one, because I just love the way that plane looks and I want that nose to stay down. So few and far between EDF jets that sit level without a battery in them. And then the ones that are the most scary are the ones that are precariously balanced. And if you like walk by too fast, they like fall over like this. Those are the ones you end up breaking when you walk by. Yep. So anyway, and I'm thinking of the 80mm F-16, the E-flite. So this is something else though, guys. Look how beautiful that is. Look how tight that package is. I mean, it's gonna be, you could definitely stick that between your front seat and your back seat of the car. And shoot, depending on what type of car you've got, you might even be able to just like set it in the seat and you could buckle the seat belt on it. So it's gonna be easy to get around. And then it doesn't look like the vertical stabilizer is too gigantic. Without the drop tanks, without the gear, you could set it flat on its belly in your back seat, no problem. And those swept wings, look how tight it is on the counter. Mm-hmm. This is the other thing too, you guys don't necessarily realize this, but when we do these unbox build radio setup videos, these planes sit out for up to 2, 3, 4 days, depending on what the weather's like and what my work schedule's like. They sit out here until we're ready to film. And so when it's like a huge plane, we just got done doing a 1600mm plane, and it just took up so much room. So we love it when they're small package size. And it's weird because the 1.1, 1.2 meter size class has just really kind of got a special place in my heart. Now, I'm not saying I don't love a big plane. I do. I do love the big planes, but boy, they take up a lot of room in your life. So if you have a smaller space, that's another reason to consider a plane like this. And by the way, that T-33, if you got the Aeros T-33, which by the way is an amazing plane, if you got the RAA, or the BAE Hawk, or if you got the Viper, you could probably slide it right under this thing and it would just sit right in a nice little tight package. So do you remember back when we first started in this YouTube channel, we used to have all the planes we had in our living room.
Yep.
And they were in the corner on the ground. I remember, it's so crazy. It was like 6 or 7 planes. And of course they were all crashed like 50 times each. Those were the days.
Yep.
And I mean, it's just, I remember those days when you first get into the hobby and you just about cry every time you crash because you're like, I don't have that particular part yet.
Now we have
hundreds of planes. Awesome. Very good plane. Can't wait to see it fly. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. We're gonna do the radio setup next. All right, YouTube. So we told you we'd be back, and we are. We've got the NX8. We're gonna be working with the Air 620 for radio setup. So this is a non-stabilized receiver with some limited telemetry data. So we're gonna pop that thing open, and we had mentioned that we were waiting on that to come. It came in a separate package. So we've got that, and then the battery that we had started with was just one of our standard Gen 2 smart packs, which we'll try to show both. But then we have this new Gen's Ace. The power you can rely on, made in China. So like every other battery. So this is the Gen's Ace 2200 45C though. So kind of excited. It's a 4S1P, which by the way, if you guys didn't know what 4S1P means, that means 4 stations, 1 position, I think is what that, or 4 slots, 1 position. So let's open this thing up and see what it looks like. Just realized I gotta cut it open. So this, we are always willing to try different batteries. We've had very good luck with the smart packs, but we also understand that, you know, they can be a little bit cost prohibitive. And sometimes if stuff is out of stock, you just need a battery. So we've always been willing to try lots of different batteries. Okay, so they've got these little battery doohickeys. It says 4S on it. It's a balanced charge protector. So that gives you something to hang on to. So what I do is I usually start by hanging on to it just long enough to pop it off of there because they get in the way. And then this is charge port. So they have a label that says charge port. So if you guys aren't familiar with what that is, that's your charge port. And then it says do not pull. Do not pull, okay, so like that. And then what you wanna do is just go ahead and pull off this packaging. I don't know why they would say do not pull. I think what they mean is like be gentle. It's delicate. And by the way, if you guys don't know how these batteries are assembled, this is kind of a good pack to show because it's clear on the end. These are the cells, individual cells. And then if you were to untape all this, which I wouldn't recommend you do, this is tacked on to a welded tab. It's like ultrasonically welded. And then this is exactly the same electrically as this. In fact, they are tied together with solder. And then this, the last cell, is exactly identical to this. And so this is the output or the discharge lead. This is called a Dean's connector or a T connector. So since this one comes with a T connector, Hobby Zone sent out this adapter, which is nice of them to think about that because we don't typically fly with Deans, but I have every conceivable adapter under the sun. Some of which I've built, some of which I've, you know, bought, and then some of which have been sent as part of our review process. So we've been building adapters for years. So it's not hard to build these. In fact, if you ever need to build a Dean's connector, one of the cool things about it is the way that the pins align. You can line it up with an XT60 and there is no cable requirement because the pins on the back side of this will actually bridge directly into the copper of an XT60 on the back side. So yeah, so that goes in something like this. oh man, they're always really hard to connect at first. Now, one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of the Dean's connector is that when that solder heats up to the point that there is a failure imminent, then it can slip off very easy. The only thing that holds it is just a little bit of side pressure from the heat shrink, and guess what happens to the heat shrink when you're hot enough to melt the solder? It also is at a point of failure. So with an XT60, you've got a small cup that receives the wire, and so if you get to a failure point, it's less likely to actually pull all the way out, although it's happened to many of you guys watching. So don't push it too hard. And that's why I was amazed that this is a 45C pack. So for what it's worth, generally 45C means that it has a larger lead. In this case, this is a 12 AWG, so American wire gauge, so 12 AUG or 12 gauge wire. And then usually on the highest C packs that we have, we'll end up with a 10 gauge wire. And by the way, if you're building an end, like if you're cutting this off and building what you need to do, don't cut them with scissors. Cut them separately, strip them, tin the leads, build your end. Don't forget to slide your heat shrink over the first. And when you get up to a 10 gauge, it is terrible. It's so hard to get them to go into anything. That's one of the reasons why Deans are nice, because you've got a single tab like this, and you got your big old blob of solder. You tin this, and then you just stick them together, and then you slide your heat shrink over and you're done. So they're super easy to build. And if you don't overdo it like crazy, you won't have problems. So anyway, sorry about that little sidetrack. And then the Gens Ace has a little informational thing. So what we're gonna do first is we'll go ahead and get this thing set up. And you may have heard our dinner beeping at us. Okay, so this is behind the scenes action. We've got the camera crew. She is pulling off the top of the dinner. Everybody always asks to see what's cooking.
This
how did you get so fat,
yet,
Brian?
So just
because
hold on
my
a
wife
second.
makes me delicious foods. She was like, this isn't a very delicious looking thing.
It's not yet. It will be by the time we're done with this.
Ooh, delicious. Look at that steam.
So
Wowzers.
tonight.
And then right here, we've got the toppings. Ooh,
Yes.
looks like pizza.
Tonight we're having pizza casserole, but
Pizza
it's
casserole.
like low carb pizza casserole. So it's
Low
actually,
carb, so it's not nearly as delicious
so
as real
then
pizza.
Brian can eat
but
a
it's
whole
still,
bag of
it's still pretty
chips
good.
pizza. It's a cauliflower rice base.
Yes,
for the
cauliflower
crust.
does not cause negative side effects
Not
to
at
men
all.
at all.
Not at all.
Right? None.
Nope. Took care of all those things earlier, so you should be good to go.
Okay, so here you go.
Okay. Oh wait, I gotta set my timer, but you can start.
So anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna just show you how this works. We've got these new chargers. If you guys are in the market for a small charger, this is gonna go up to 4S. It's an S155. You may notice that there's two of them. We recently did a review where there is a charger included with it, and we also did it with the S150. So anyway, if you look at this adapter, we also had another adapter that came from Arrows as part of another battery, and these two adapters came with it. And they are an XT60 to Deans, which is ironic because we're just dealing with Deans now. And then also an EC3 or IC3 to Deans. Now IC would need the smart lead. If you guys aren't privy to all these little details, don't worry. You could be, like if you're just getting back in the hobby, you could just be working with one of these. It's not that bad though.
I miss that thing sitting out so much.
She does. I used to have two of them sitting out. It was awesome. I loved it. You could charge anything. It was perfect. Okay, so let's see this. So this adapter is gonna slip into here, okay? And then that's gonna give us contact points here. But also, if you've ever had an XT60 that you stick into another XT60 and you're like, it's not biting. It feels like loose. See, watch.
It did look
I just don't
really
feel
loose
like there's
when you did
much. Okay, so what you can do is you can take your Phillips tip and you can slide it into this, and there's 4 pedals, and these 4 pedals are gonna get bent out a little bit. See how that opened up? Sometimes you gotta go both directions. And what that's gonna do for you is it's gonna bend those pedals back out. Now watch how strong this is now. Oh yeah, got good purchase. It's not gonna let go, okay? So probably the biggest safety advice I can give you when it pertains to RC everything. It's dealing with batteries. Be nice, try not to hang on to them by the leads like I was showing, because that's the most dangerous time in the RC experience. So this will fit in this new S150. Obviously it'll fit in the more expensive ones that are a lot bigger. And if you have 475 batteries, you gotta kind of manipulate them to get out of the way. Then this is gonna go into the balance lead. See how nice it is when you get that big heavy duty connector? It's great. Okay, so now we'll kind of go in a little bit closer. Exposure's terrible for filming these. So you press and hold that. Looks like this is already set to the current of 2.2, and this is 2.2 amps or 2200 milliamps. And we're gonna start it. So milli means 1,000, and so this is a 2200 milliamp 4S, meaning 4 cells in series. So if you guys are new or just getting back into the hobby from maybe a reprieve for a few years or something like that, we're here to help you at Brian Phillips RC. That's what we do. That's a large part of what we do, is we try to help people avoid one and dones, which is where, like, for instance, you buy this plane and you're maybe not skilled enough to start with this plane. I don't think this plane is gonna be particularly difficult to fly, but I could be wrong, and we'll share that with you too. But the other big thing we end up finding ourselves doing is helping people that are, you know, they pull out their Futaba with 36 megahertz crystals in there, and they're like, how come nobody at the flying field is, you know, crashing from CV interference? Well, it's because nobody uses that stuff anymore. So anyway, in fact, I think the FCC has probably pulled registration for a lot of that stuff, so you're not actually allowed to use a lot of it. But anyway, don't listen to me about rules. We don't talk about rules here, because this is about toys and adults that play with them, like me. And I'm sorry, I've insulted a large part of our populace in this group, but that's okay. Get used to it. You're an RCer. You're an adult that plays with toys. You should be used to this by now. Okay, so there's that and that. All right, so we'll just kind of got our shelf liner hanging on. So then you'll notice that this is gonna slide out, and I might actually just more or less leave it in there, because that's where we figured the CG, right?
Right, then we kind of know receiver.
Then we know where the receiver can fit. So sorry guys, I was taking that out thinking it would just be in the way, but okay, so when we set up a stabilized receiver like the AR630 or AR631, there's a heck of a lot more setup going on. In this, it should be quite simple. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go through here and show you exactly how to hook up the vector. This is what we call the radio setup part of the video. We do unbox, build, and radio setup, and then we do Maidens all at once, unless the video is like 20 hours long. Okay. Then we break it up. And that just happened, believe it or not.
When it's done uploading, you'll know.
When it's done uploading sometime in January of next year. Okay, so this is the brown, red, and orange. So you can see on here, you're like, well, how do you tell what direction goes where? Well, it says right here, it's like really hard to see. Can you get that glimmer of, it says minus plus S. And you're gonna have to go super, minus plus S, there you go. Okay? So the S is up here, and the minus is down here. Now, if you were to plug this in backward, you're not gonna command and control that channel, but you also won't burn anything up, because the plus is still relative to the minus or the signal, okay? So this is gonna go to channel 6. Since this is a 6-channel receiver and we don't have retracts, this should work fine. Okay, so you see I'm getting a little bit of resistance plugging that in, but it's okay, because sometimes the keys on these openings are a little bit tight when they're brand new, which, to be perfectly frank, most of the time you're hooking up a receiver, they are brand new. Okay, so we're gonna go to the transmitter, actually. Why not? Let's just go ahead and set the transmitter up. It'll tell us exactly where the channels plug in. Mm-hmm. So as you can see, we had been flying the RV7. So I'll click this and this, the back and the cancel button, and scroll all the way down to add new model. And I'm creating an acro. It takes a second for that to happen. RF goes off because you've now all of a sudden entered system setup. That's why that happens. That light indicates RF, radio frequency. So this would take you back to the model menu we were just at, model type that we already set. And if you hit that and change it to a sailplane or a helicopter, it will erase everything, okay? Model name, so it says Acro by default, but then this one is gonna be called the F-86, or I'm sorry, It's right there, the manual. We pulled the manual. Yeah, just slip that out. There you go. So this is a 64 millimeter EDF, and it's an F-86. So we'll go ahead and key that in. And we're using a legacy keyboard, just so you guys know. You may have, if you got the firmware updated, you'll have a different keyboard. So we'll be right back when we're done typing. Okay, so we've got the F-86 Sabre 64 millimeter, which it'll do that weird beepy thing, aircraft type. So we have a normal wing and a normal tail. Now, except we gotta add flaps. So we have an aileron and flap. Boy, I hope they're not seeing that digital noise as it's filming. You think they are?
I don't think so. It doesn't show up very often.
It's kind of strange.
I think I got out of it.
Okay, so I can scroll and I'm just gonna change this to, oh, you know what? They might have an F-86 in here. Not seeing an F-86 yet. I always like this to be as close as possible. Because it's kind of cool. Now, if you get into the more advanced ones, the IX lineup, then you can actually put a photograph in there. I don't know. That's probably close enough. Okay, and then the F mode setup, we're not going to mess with. And the channel sign, we're not going to mess with either. Like I said, it's a real simple model. So let's go ahead and start with throttle cut. Turn that on to switch H. See how it switched it to throttle stick because I never acknowledged my entry by clicking. Now you can test it and see if it's working, and it is. When that's off, you can see it's free to move up and down. And you may notice that it says minus 97 compared to plus 97. I may need to recalibrate my sticks because I noticed that I had trouble starting the throttle on that storage that we built. And I wonder if it's got to do with that. But see, it looks like the rest of the sticks are, 98, 100, 99 on this gimbal. The rudder is good, but it looks like just this axis is kind of short. You notice that? Now, you can pull that stick down. You see that? How I'm pulling hard and it goes down all the way? There's actually stops inside of there, and I wonder if there's a mechanical stop. I can also recalibrate it. Okay, so I'm actually gonna address that after the timer. Can you help me remember?
Okay.
So the timer, did they suggest a time?
No.
Okay, so we'll just set it to 5. Well, I don't know. Are you sure they didn't suggest a time?
I think they usually do.
Jets are usually a little bit more picky. Yeah, they would have it here usually if it was here. Oh. 40 amp, okay, so fast transition from, okay, MIG, 15.
I'm gonna do like 3 or 4 to start with.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably 3 would be a safe spot to start. I mean, that's my guess. Because jets do consume, the EDFs take a lot more juice. Although it's a single, I mean, 3.5 is probably fine, but we'll just do a 1 out. And 1 out means that once the stick goes over a certain percentage, it starts a timer and it keeps counting. You may decide you want it to be, so it only counts when it's past a certain percentage and then it stops counting when it's down here. I don't like that style. I have my reasons. Okay, and then we're gonna have it count down, and then the expiration will be tone and vibrate, and then a tone every minute thereafter. Okay, by the way, some of these things that I set up in my walkthrough of the radio setup, you could set as default and load a template. But most people just don't, we're trying to teach you how to use it. So if we make a template, then we're just gonna skip that step. So then we have to refer back to some arbitrary plane from like 6 months ago. Okay, system setup, disconnect RF. This is the first time I'm gonna do this for a long time. USB settings, system settings. Okay, I might need to just point at this for just a sec, because I don't think this has any of our information on here.
Okay.
No, I don't. This one, you can show this too. I just thought maybe it had like a Wi-Fi password on it or something. Oh, there we go. Okay. So now you can turn. This is the calibrate. See how I turn it? And then you have to center it. So you have to put it to the center position. See how it said okay? And you have to center that stick. So just move it all the way around and then center it. Okay. Okay, so now we'll go to monitor and just look. 99 compared to 98. You know what I think it is? I just think the tendency is I pull down a little bit harder when I come over here because I use like the huge muscle strength here from giving thumbs up all the time. Thumbs up. Okay, so throttle cut. I'm fine with it. It says minus 100. It says 98, whatever. I guess that's just the way it is. It hasn't been a problem, so I just wanted to go through that in case you guys had never heard about that. Clear the timer because it started. All right, so now we go over one click. We basically, see how this thing scrolls? We'll just go over one. We can see the monitor, and it shows you all the different layouts. So channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, channel 5, channel 6. We're gonna have to switch those two. I'm just thinking for a second. Gear. I only really need 2 modes. There's 3 modes on the Vector. It's stabilized, off, and then auto leveling with stabilization. So off, I don't care about. I always fly stabilized, okay? So I will go ahead and use the gear switch for that. So gear is actually on channel 5, so we just plugged it in wrong, okay? So why don't we just do that? We'll just switch where it's plugged in. Okay, so this is the S-Bus PPM mode, okay? So if you have an S-Bus receiver, you can do all of it through that one cable, I believe. I haven't done that yet, so I can't confirm that. I hate to give advice that I haven't confirmed or run into myself because then if something goes wrong, I feel bad and want to make sure that I'm telling you stuff I know, because there's nothing worse than when asked, you know, will this work and should work. I hate giving that answer, but it is, you know, a lot of times you have to kind of make some reasonable assumptions. And I had a coworker, I work on industrial scales for a living, and he used to always have a bad habit of saying it should be okay, should this, should that. And I'm like, no, people are paying a lot of money to know 1, 2, 3, and channel 4. They're paying a lot of money to know unequivocally that this statement is true or not. So if you don't know, you don't know. If you do know, you do know. So that's part of the reason why I'm always so matter of fact on stuff like that. Elevator. And I'd rather be matter of fact and say I don't know than be matter of fact wrong. Because when you get it wrong, people crash and then it's like they have to spend a bunch of money to fix stuff and I feel bad. Okay, so throttle's going into port 1.
You put elevator in 2, it should be in 3.
Oh, you're right. Thank you for catching that. Yep. Okay. Sorry, folks. That was supposed to be on channel 3. Okay, and then you'll note that what I'm doing is I'm just laying these cables so that as they come out, they'll be kind of in a nice pile. Then I'm kind of adjusting all those labels back. Super easy radio setup though. I mean, like this is almost it, guys. So it's like really super easy. Okay, arrows with Vector. Oh my goodness. One of the easiest radio setups that we can do. And then the Vector is like all pre-programmed by the factory. So if you're getting into the hobby for the first time, you know, from like a large hiatus where it's like 10, 12, 14 years, something like that, and you legitimately don't understand what stabilization is. Stabilization is when the flight controller actively manages the environmental impact on your aircraft and then makes adjustments. So we'll show you how it works here in just a second when we test it. And then you'll know how it works when you're flying because it'll make the plane feel a lot more tuned, like just really tailored. It's gonna fly tighter, crisper, and it's gonna be like you're a better pilot, which is pretty cool. And that's why we fly with stabilizers all the time. Now, I don't always fly with auto leveling, but you'll have that too if you want to. And auto leveling is a huge thing for people that are just learning how to fly. Looks like that's silver paint, but it could be solder. I'm pretty sure it's silver paint. If that was solder, I'd want to get that out of there. You're gonna have to move the camera. They won't be able to see what I'm talking about. It's on the other side. You guys see it? Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like you can see it. I was talking about this drip. That looks like solder, but I don't know for a fact. I think it might be just silver paint. Yeah, it's just silver paint, guys. I peeled it off, it's just paint. If that, I mean, but also metallic paints do conduct. some of them. So be careful. You don't want to short something out. Okay, so you see how this one's just kind of floating? We were talking about that real briefly when we kind of called it quits the other night. And the reason I twisted those wires is because I want to try to stick this right here, if it'll go. So the vector is spatially aware, but this is not. So it can kind of go, you know, really wherever. But you see that? As long as we're not depressing the button, which it doesn't, I thought we'd be pressing the button, but evidently not. So I'll take it. I love it when stuff like that happens because I didn't really deserve it.
Is the canopy gonna have?
That's what I'm about to figure out. I'm gonna twist this one more time. I'm like, geez, Brian, why are you twisting it so many times? Well, I'll show you in a minute. It'll make better sense once I get this all laid in here. Okay, so that's gonna go just like that. And you see now that I gave it that one extra twist, it makes it lay down. Because the one twist less, and then it wanted to lift up. Okay, so let's just try this real quick. Oh, okay, so it's always nice if you can get your cables to kind of line up in the right way. But this one, and this is an IC3, and this is an XT60. So our Dean's ended connector that's on the Gens Ace battery is gonna have an XT60 plug. This will fit into the plug. So why don't we go ahead and just fire this up? We'll shut off our transmitter. This is the binding procedure where you teach the radio the unique identifier code in this so that the radios will talk to each other, okay? And they operate within the DSMX protocol. There's a number of different protocols that have to do with the brand and all this. Okay, so watch this. This connector is gonna be a fun one because some of these, it seems like some of them are really good. And I know you asked a question just a second ago before a timer went off. Okay, so you'll note that there's some flashing lights on the receiver. So I'm gonna press that. Well, it's already started, it's already flashing, okay? So now I'm gonna turn this on if you wanna kind of come over here. Pressing the bind button while powering on. You gotta be so far away. It's gonna fail. Sometimes it'll fail, sometimes it won't. You're gonna need to come over here so they can see. Okay, then bind. Because it didn't bind, we're okay. Okay, now we're gonna come away from it. Okay, if you have it fail a number of times, you need to usually move back further. Okay, so now we're gonna go a little bit further this way. It's gonna be one of these. Okay, now I'm gonna do something a little bit unusual. I'm gonna go closer. Okay, now we're gonna go way further. Remember, this is a radio frequency thing. So there are times when it takes a little bit of, look how far we are. Still failed. So we're gonna try again, even further away. Not much more. You may have to move to your neighbor's house. Still failed. Okay, we're gonna look at this again. So if it keeps failing like that, oh, you know what? Look, it stopped flashing. It timed out. There, it timed out, guys. That's what happened. Okay, so now we're gonna try again. Got it. Cool, okay, so now, real quick, the bind button is a new feature. You used to have a plug, and if you had the plug, you could just leave that receiver out. So camera crew, why don't you come over to this side? What we're gonna do is we're gonna sit down, we're gonna look, there is a slow flash on the vector. See, the vector has got a slow flash on it. So now at this point, we just need to basically tuck this down like that. Stay. And the camera crew had a great question. Is that gonna work with the canopy lid? I don't know. Actually, yes. Yeah. Look, Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, so the next thing we need to do is control surface test. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, incorrect. Yaw left, yaw right is correct. Click, go to servo setup, travel, scroll over to reverse, go to your ailerons and flip it. That is correct, that is correct. So when I go like this, that wing's gonna go down and that wing's gonna go up. That would roll us to the right. That would roll us to the left, okay? And you're probably thinking to yourself, elevator, yaw, and steerable is going the correct direction. Cool. So now the last thing we have to do is get the flap system attached to switch B. Okay, so then we want to go flaps for the top setting, where we are right here. You see how they're walking up as we do this. You can only go to 100, but you can change your actual servo setup to go to even higher than 100 if you want. Okay, so it looks like 100 is pretty much where you need to be. Then for takeoff, I want to go like, I have a little issue with my scroller right now, guys, in case you're wondering. I got water in it. Okay. And then I want this to be all the way down. Ooh, look, it's gonna hit the drop tank. Oh, totally hits the drop tank. Okay, well that's unfortunate. Okay, so now elevator correction. I'm gonna do an elevator correction of like 6, and what I'll do is I'll exaggerate for the top setting so you can see it move. See how it points down? That's what you want, because inboard flaps are gonna create a balloon. The plane's gonna wanna go up like this, and so what happens is as you deploy the flaps, it's gonna wanna go like this, and that elevator is gonna keep you level. Now, the last thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna change that 19 down to like, let's call it 9. Okay, that's a good guess. And then speed we'll set to 2 seconds. Now watch what happens. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. The deployment happens slower so that the plane has less of a propensity to balloon because there's a longer time for it to slow down to agree with the airspeed, okay? All right, so that's great. So we've got those big barn door flaps for landings, which is really good. That might be too much, in fact. But then we have our takeoff flaps and we have our neutral flight. So I might actually go just a hair, a little bit less. So let's go -100, then 40, then barn door style, okay? Cool. All right, so that's everything. Like literally this plane is set up. Everything is tested with the exception of throttle. We're gonna test that now. What? That is crazy. This is on a 4S. It's got tons of power. Okay, so we're gonna do the flight in the living room test real quick here. Oh, by the way, are we in auto leveling? Yes, we are. That's how you can tell. Trying to find the quickest route to level and then watch the ailerons. Okay, so this is gonna go that way. Wait. So it's trying to roll us that way until we're level, okay? Now look at the elevator. See how the elevator's pointed up? Once it levels the aircraft, now it's pointed, it's gonna bring it up. And then I don't think the rudder axis does anything for that, but there is stabilization. Now let's see what happens when I move the gear switch. It's not trying to bring us right now. It's just stabilizer. And what you wanna do is you wanna wiggle the airplane. Okay, stay right where you are. Watch the rudder. I'm gonna move the rudder and it should fight. It is, and it is. Now watch the elevator. It should go up when I pull it up. It goes up, and when I go down, it goes down. It's hard for you guys to see that, I realize. Now look at the ailerons. When I move this wing up, that should try to correct. Correct up, correct down, correct up, correct down. So it's harder for you guys to see it in the video, but in real life, always take, and I'm just like, what I'm doing is I'm sighting down the rudder and I can see the rudder move. And then what I do is I sight down the plane and I go up and I go down, and you can really obviously see in person. Same thing with the wing. I just watch like a fixed point, like between this tip and the tip of the aileron, and I just go up and down, up and down. If it corrects in the wrong direction, figure out why and fix it. If you don't know how, you probably just have your control flipped because the reflex is going to respond the same direction, which is really nice, okay? So now the last test was How much power do we have? I do not want to drop this thing, but I do want to test this. Okay, so here we go. Oh, yeah. That is so cool. So close. That's got some power. Okay, so that is a good power to weight ratio for an EDF jet. And then let's show the people, watch the plants. Small hurricane, camera crew, cat. So it obviously works. And I am super excited to see this thing fly. If you guys have some questions, leave them in the comments below. Obviously this plane was not super hard to set up, and I love the way it looks. I love the way it's gonna fly. We've got the Gens Ace battery that we'll Maiden on. And if you guys want more deflection on your flaps, one quick thing before we hang up the phone here, what we're gonna do is I'll show you that. You go to servo setup and you just scroll down to flaps in whatever direction you need to fix. Let's say you want that to come up more, just click, make that higher. You see what's going on? See how they're flat now? That was a 15% over 0. That's perfect. Now I click, we have the same rates, perfect. I don't like that that hits. That's pretty I don't like that. But it's okay, because you don't have to make it go that far. So that, and then dual rates and expo, we didn't set up. So I don't know if you guys can tell what's going on, but every time I scroll, not every time, but like occasionally it scrolls too much or not enough. Throttle cut is on now. Okay, so this is my standard dual rates and expo setup. I attach it to switch F. For the bottom setting, this is with a stabilized receiver. We do 5, then 10, then 20, and we drop the rates down to like 90. You may want more if you're a beginner pilot, okay? And then we just copy that exact setting for all 3 of the control axes. So elevator would start as 5. Oh geez, see what I'm talking about, guys? Clear takes you to 0. And then this one's gonna be 20. And why 5, 10, 20? Because it's half and double. So you start in the middle. What I'll do is I'll start in the middle for my Maiden, and then I've got less if I need it, or I've got more if I need it. More meaning more deadened, softer sticks, where I started, or less deadened, more touchy sticks. And that way you can get to the ground. And then you set your middle setting to whatever you had on your Maiden. And then you do half and double. So if you have like a windier day or whatever, if you have a windier day or like a dead calm day and you want to push it a little bit harder, you can do that. The other thing is for high-speed passes, you might want to actually reduce your rates even more. But I've always thought that was kind of like cheating. But I mean, it's to all their own. Everybody does stuff a little bit different. So guys, that is the full radio setup. The only thing we haven't done is established our flight time. And I am super excited to see this thing in the air. It's gonna be awesome. If you wanna help support our channel, you can buy this plane for yourself. You can buy this transmitter for yourself. You can buy the receiver that we installed, the AR620. You can buy all that stuff, and then we'll get small commissions from the companies we work with. We have a number of different partnered companies, but hobbyzone.com. You can buy the plane, the receiver, the battery we test it with, or this other battery we test it with. And then I'm not 100% sure if you can buy the transmitter, but we'll have links to that as well. And really, you're just gonna be buying the plane most of the time, unless you're a brand new pilot. If you're a brand new pilot, I'm kind of guessing this won't be a good first plane, but it might be an okay second or third plane. So EDF jets are a little bit more intimidating to new pilots because it takes time to spool up throttle. Whereas with a prop plane like this one on the table, it's just like an instant response. And granted, that is a high performance plane. That would also probably not be a good first plane. So anyway, guys, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. We also have Patreon and PayPal if you like to support us in that way, because maybe you can't buy the planes or you don't like this particular plane, but you enjoyed the video or we helped you out in some way. So we've got those links for you. And then BrianPhillipsRC.com is our new website that we started. It's exactly the same content, just helps you to organize your thoughts, go through the playlist. They're going to link you to the playlist for each of the planes that we've reviewed in the past, and then have all the links in a little bit more organized fashion, because YouTube is good, but it's not perfect, and neither is the website, but it's still slightly better and slightly less imperfect. And Megan, the camera crew, my wonderful wife, has been helping to put that together behind the scenes. So thank you, Megan, for doing that. And it's looking good, but it's always going to be a work in progress, just because we're always changing when new models come out and models get discontinued. We try our best to, you know, make that clear somehow. I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet, but at this point, a lot of the planes that were discontinued are getting re-released, and a lot of them were really popular, and people were pissed when they got discontinued.
And even if you go to that plane and you click on the link and the plane has been discontinued, there's a link to the playlist. So if you're looking for something to fix, like if we've done a video on a fix or a mod or something,
or maybe you got one at a hobby shop and you know you didn't buy it from our links, which, to be honest with you, you know, we want to kind of fill that void. We want to be your hobby shop if you don't have access to one, or maybe your hobby shop is not good for airplanes. They're really good for cars, but they don't do a lot of support for the airplane stuff. When you buy from the links, you're kind of treating us like that, because you're going to ask us questions about it. It does help us, because then you kind of help cover our time. So, and we do reply to comments and questions like all the time, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them every week, because we try to respond to you guys. We owe you as our audience on this channel a lot, because, you know, if for nothing else, you know, the fact that we get to work with all these companies to bring you reviews. I mean, I love this stuff. So it's awesome. It's like a dream come true, and we're trying to make it a full-blown dream come true, and we're probably a couple years off of that. But at this point, every little bit counts, and we're getting closer and closer to the target of being able to do this full-time. But we're still, like right now, probably a couple years off. So we appreciate you guys. You've helped us to make something out of this channel, and we really appreciate that. Eternally grateful to you. And if you have questions, definitely leave them in leave them in the comments section below. And if you have a weird question and I'm taking too long to get back to you, sometimes some of the other viewers will chime in and give you a good answer. And other times we're just Johnny on the spot. So it's kind of hard to say exactly. Sometimes we get a couple weeks behind, so I apologize. But we always try our best to get caught up as quick as we can. And this is going to be a sweet plane. I can already tell it's going to be awesome when they got a good power to weight ratio. And it is beautiful. So anyway, the other thing I was thinking about, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna shut this off because our food's gonna burn. I was thinking after I fly this, I may take silver paint and just give it a little spritz to let it suck it through the fan, because then that whole thing will be silver and it would look so cool. And then the outlet would also be silver. It would look really cool. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. You guys know where to find it here first on Brian Phillips RC, or maybe the second or third or fifth or 10th or 2 or 3 years late. Either way, when you actually need help setting up the plane, you know where to come, which is Brian Phillips RC. So thanks for watching. Jeez. Okay, you guys thought the video was over. Easter egg time.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Ooh, those are delicious Easter eggs. That looks so much less good before, and now it's good. It's like
looks better now or before? What?
Yeah, I think it looks better now, because I like my crust done. It's not done.
Yes.
So guys, this is not about the airplane. This is all about dinner. Because every time we make dinner food updates, people get all excited. That looks delicious. What is this? That's pepperoni. It was good. And then there's pizza sauce. Yeah, don't grab that without stuff. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna show you exactly what this is. This is our delicious pizza.
Pizza casserole.
Pizza casserole. And so what's gonna happen is does that go back in right away, or do you put cheese on it right away?
We'll have to put cheese on it, but I'm gonna have to go get the cheese.
We may pause for the cheese spreading. But look, that delicious. Is that, what kind of sausage is it?
This is Italian sausage and pepperoni. Italian sausage. And then it's just a bag of seasoning blend, which is frozen onions and peppers and celery. And then a jar of pizza sauce. It's actually really super easy.
So camera crew.
Yes.
Also known as my wife, Megan.
That's me.
Yeah, people get all upset when I call you by camera crew.
Which he doesn't ever call me except on camera.
That's right.
He uses my real name.
It's delicious. This spot needs some.
I know, I gotta get it.
Yes.
Okay, so normally we used to make this in a 9x13 pan, but somebody likes the crust to be thinner.
I do.
So I make it in this pan, so it takes a little bit longer to kind of like get it all
like
spread
it thinner too.
Yeah, that's true.
So What did you used to do before you were here at home with the kids?
Before I was a camera crew, I was a teacher. For 10 years, I taught family and consumer science, which if you're like older than 30 is home ec.
Like if you use crystals.
Yes.
Right?
Then it was
you'll get it. It was home ec.
So I taught a lot of culinary arts was one of my main things, but I taught child
What does culinary arts mean?
Foods. I taught kids how to cook. Are you following? I got to get cheese.
I'm just gonna. You can just talk. She's mic'd up. Watch this.
That's true.
This is our pantry. There's another fridge in there because when you have a big family, you need 2 fridges.
Yes.
See, 1 fridge, 2 fridge. And we had the same fridge that we had at our old house.
Exactly.
So we tried to get them to match.
So I taught a lot of foods classes. I taught child development. I taught interior design.
Child development.
I taught health. I taught personal finance. I taught textiles. I taught kids how to sew.
You taught finance? Whoa.
I did, and then I married you. Actually, I was married to you first.
That's right.
But
I got the entire experience of that.
Yes. So I did that for 10 years before I stayed home to homeschool our 4 kids.
And take care of my YouTube channel.
Brian.
So guys, this is totally inside baseball. We don't usually do Easter eggs like this. Wow, that plane looks good. Watch this. Oh yeah, right there. That is so cool. I can't wait to see this plane fly. But I also currently can't wait to see this pizza. Delicious. And since we've gotten you so involved in this food product, we are gonna share this. Now, if you like the food product, leave it in the comments below. I'm sure that our regulars will love it. And then the people that hate Brian Phillips RC and me will thumb down this video like 24 times. I made you dinner. All 24 times from one person. We have a troll, guys. There's a troll we've been having to deal with the last few weeks.
Do I need to mention that like you make dinner sometimes?
Oh, I do?
Sometimes. Brian grills. Right. Sometimes it's
used to grill.
It's a lot harder to grill at this house because we have a million mosquitoes, but Brian makes what our kids call... What? Well, there's not mosquitoes in
the grill's up here and it's windy up here. It's right here windy. Is the grill. And it's just windy because the deck is up high. And so when it's stormy, like you see our rug is moved, it gets really windy and it whips through. Which you guys should know the outside almost better than the inside of our house. So it would be a perfect place to grill, but it just kind of isn't because it's either too windy or too buggy.
I was gonna give you credit for daddy chicken.
Daddy chicken.
Brian makes what our kids call daddy chicken, which is just chicken, but the way that Brian seasons it, everybody always likes it, and he puts lots and lots of butter and stuff.
So this part of the video was not really an intentional thing.
Nope.
It is kind of strange. It says 5 minutes and 2 seconds, 3 seconds and counting. Our video was not only 5 minutes long.
No, because I stopped it. I didn't know we were going to show this. You just picked up the camera.
So that's the other thing, you guys, inside baseball style. When we're filming, we don't really like clip stuff out. We just kind of like stop the videos. And so if you're running a small YouTube channel and you're trying to figure out how to do video editing, we use DaVinci Resolve when we are editing, but we almost never edit our videos. I use FFmpeg to concact our videos, and I hope I'm saying that right now that I'm telling the world.
I don't know, that's what you always tell me.
But FFmpeg is a free product that you can use to take videos and stick them together, like 1 + 2 + 3 = output.
Yeah.
And then you just name it and you use DOS to run that. So you go through the command prompt.
DaVinci Resolve is free too, and we do use that if we have to go through and edit videos. We ran into a lot of problems. Well, when we first started, because we were doing 4K video now. Yes, and when you go through, we had to figure out to do the settings so that it was actually 4K, which is not what the default settings are. If you just click on the little set to YouTube, it's not even close.
It's going to do 10,000 kilobits per second or something.
Yeah, and you need to be like 600 or
or 500,000. I mean,
watch a ton of videos and like try and
we lost tons of fidelity, and that's why the sky would be like blotchy.
Yep.
when there was like a blue sky or black sky.
The other thing is it takes a long time to render. Once you put all those clips together, then it takes forever to render.
Even on a discrete hard drive, which we have now.
So if we don't have to actually edit something, if we're just putting clips together, then Brian just does it on that F-86.
I just concact them, unless they are 430 gigabytes.
Right.
Which is how long our last video was. It was redonkulous.
These are actually
I don't know how our videos could get long. I mean, we don't just like drone on and on endlessly.
No. We're not going to wait 8 minutes for this.
We're not going to wait 8 minutes.
Okay.
Look, 8 minutes of punishment.
What else do you want me to explain to them about dinner?
Well, no, I wasn't going to continue. I was going to just say, you guys don't get Easter eggs very often, but we're going to give you this Easter egg today.
Sure.
And basically what we'll do is we'll pause, and then when the deliciousness comes out, you'll get to see it firsthand. Okay, so we have like 7 minutes and 10 seconds. So I'm going to taxi the airplane around the living room just to show you. This is usually what happens off camera, is like about the time we get done with the plane, then I just like taxi it around. And this is no different. Man, that thing sounds great. Taxi on carpet is always a good test for the landing gear. Look how nice it turns.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
Ooh, are you gonna make it?
I think so. Oh, man, no thrust reverse on this one either. But what we can do is we can just use the best tugs to turn it around. Oh, Ash, our cat, is scared now. Oh no! Pilot must be drunk. Don't drink and fly, folks. I've been told it doesn't work well. Okay. So yeah, so usually about the time we get done with the plane, and especially when it's one that I'm super excited about, which I am really excited about this one, I end up taxiing it around the living room, and it looks like, oh no, don't crash, throttle cuts on. Is it done?
I don't know. We're gonna go check and see if it's brown enough for.
We're almost done. All right, let's do it. Ooh, it's getting there.
Ooh, it's pretty close.
Ooh, so close.
Yes.
I think it needs more time.
Okay.
I think it needs more time, don't you?
Probably. Okay.
All right, guys. We're back. Ooh, looks so delicious and cheesy. Except this thing is like sort of healthy too.
It is. It's.
That looks, it's the picture of health.
It has a lot of cheese on it, but it also has a lot of vegetables in it too.
Cheesy too.
Shh, don't tell Brian.
Look at this. Ooh, that looks good. So guys, there you go. There you have it, Easter egg. Can't wait to see this thing fly. And then also check this out. Oh yeah, while we were waiting and trying to make my pizza burn, I put this Gens Ace in here. Lot smaller pack actually. So it's all the way up to the front and it's CG'd out about the same. Of course, we got the adapter on here. So that's our Deans to XT60 because of course Deans will not plug in. They're completely incompatible. So you do have to have an adapter and then everything else looks good. So we are excited to see this beauty up in the air. If you guys want to help support our channel, buy from the links in the video description below. Check out BrianPhillipsRC.com when you get some time and see if there's some new cool things there.
And don't forget Patreon and PayPal.
Yes.
Support us that way.
So we can buy more cheese. Thanks for watching.